subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
When encountering some special things. Even if they know that Morningstar is such a monster, most gods are just interested, and at most stand in the distance and watch, observing Morningstar's growth path without any intention towards Morningstar. The only ones who might have intentions were the notorious Apollo and Freya, who seemed to have set her sights on her. Freya's character would not act rashly. As for Apollo, even if Apollo's entire clan attacked her, she could completely destroy them all by herself, without any fear. So Qingqing was not worried about revealing the fact that she had upgraded so quickly, and she was capable of dealing with these things. The next morning, Qingqing got up early in the morning and also woke up Hestia, who was still sleeping in. After these days of getting along, the relationship between Qingqing and Hestia has improved a lot. A man and a woman who have a good impression of each other live in the same house. As long as they are not wooden, it is normal for the relationship to heat up quickly. The current situation of the two can be said to be more than friends, but less than lovers. However, the two have not yet broken this barrier. Once it is broken, the relationship between the two will change qualitatively. When Qingqing entered Hestia's room, Hestia was lying in a big letter shape, carefree and without any lady-like image, revealing her spring light, but Qingqing was very indifferent to it. Although the scene was very erotic, it would be so after watching it too much. Qingqing thought that he had a calm personality. Hestia, get up, don't forget to go to the monster festival today. Qingqing shook Hestia and shouted loudly. Under the double attack, Hestia woke up in a daze. Good morning, Qingqing. Hestia, who was sleepy, greeted Qingqing blankly, and then walked to the bathroom room according to instinct to wash up. Qingqing pulled a chair over and sat down, picked up the book beside Hestia's bed, and started reading. The book Hestia was reading was a biography, recording a hero thousands of years ago. Qingqing had read this book a long time ago, but it was still good to review it again. While reading a book, Qingqing waited for Hestia. After Qingqing had watched for more than 10 minutes, Hestia came out of the bathroom. Hestia's outfit was completely different from before. Her hairstyle changed. The double ponytails that had been tied were let down and scattered on her back. The hair accessories that were originally used to tie her hair were often worn on her wrists like bracelets. Her clothes also changed from the original unchanging backless dress to a loose white shirt and hot pants. She was full of youthful vitality, like a girl. How is it? Does it look good? Hestia pinched the corner of her clothes and turned around in front of Qingqing. Then she asked with a slightly red face, staring at Qingqing with burning eyes, her eyes full of Qingqing's reflection. It looks good. Hestia has always been good-looking. But it looks better now. Qingqing smiled and praised. This is not Qingqing trying to curry favor with Hestia, but Qingqing's true words. Hestia was very beautiful before, but now that Hestia has dressed up carefully, she is even more beautiful than before. Looking at Hestia in front of him, Qingqing's heart beats faster. Hestia was very satisfied with the praise from Morningstar. She had never dressed up for someone before. This was the first time. As for why she did this, could Hestia say that she liked Morningstar very much? From the beginning, she felt that she and Morningstar had a high affinity. They both had withdrawn personalities, and they both liked reading. They could talk about the same topics, and it was very comfortable to be with Morningstar. This was also the reason why she proposed that Morningstar should start a family with her. It was a pity that Morningstar refused. Although she was refused, she didn't care too much. It was refused. Anyway, it didn't affect her getting along with Morningstar. However, she didn't expect that one day Morningstar would suddenly become a family of other gods, which made her very angry and sad, because she felt that Morningstar was taken away by other gods. However, after that, she found that nothing seemed to have changed. Morningstar invited her to be the library administrator and let her live in the inner courtyard of the library with him. Afterwards, she also learned from Morningstar about the situation of the family that Morningstar belonged to. The main god of Morningstar was a slacker who rarely appeared, did not live in the library, did not like to create a family, and did not need Morningstar's contribution. The reason why the family was established was completely a misunderstanding. Rather than saying that Morningstar was a member of Lucifer's family, it was better to say that he was under Lucifer's name, just like an adventurer from Demeter, a waiter in the Hostess of Abundance. Morningstar would only go to the main god when he needed to update. This made her very happy, because Morningstar was not robbed. It was precisely because of this that Hestia understood that there would be no companions around Morningstar. From then on, she had the desire to create a family again. There was no other reason, just wanting Morningstar to have companions to go to the dungeon in the future. A group of adventurers going to the dungeon together is definitely safer than Morningstar alone. She's been running around outside these days just for Morningstar. And after these days of hard work, she really found a talented new adventurer under the guidance of Morningstar. Unfortunately, she had just found an adventurer and founded her own clan, but Morningstar gave her an answer that he didn't need companions at all. This made Hestia a little disappointed because she couldn't help Morningstar, but disappointed. But she was more happy for Morningstar, because Morningstar's qualifications are very terrifying and his strength is very strong. He can definitely grow up quickly, and there is no danger of premature death. And a few days ago, after she learned about the existence of the Monster Festival, she even had the idea of inviting Morningstar to participate in the Monster Festival. Morningstar also agreed, which made Hestia very happy, looking forward to the arrival of the Monster Festival every day. And today is the day when the Monster Festival begins. Let's go. Morningstar walked over, took Hestia's hand, and said gently, "Well, let's go." Hestia smiled and replied softly. The two held hands and slowly left here. Chapter 44 Shopping the Monster Festival is very lively and has been held for many years. It is held once a year and is jointly held by the Ganesha family and the guild. On the surface, it is to add a huge festival to Oreo, but in fact it is a plan planned by the gods Uranus and Ganesha for heretics. Using the Monster Festival, adventurers and residents on the ground will gradually accept the existence of monsters, lay the foundation for the emergence of heretics in the future, and let adventurers and residents accept the existence of heretics as much as possible. Things are indeed as expected by the two gods Uranus and Ganesha. Over the years, the Monster Festival has been integrated into the lives of Oreo residents and adventurers. Many people are no longer so scared when they see monsters. Of course, crazy monsters are still scary. The Monster Festival is held on East Street. East Street was very crowded early in the morning, with people bustling around. The whole street was almost full. There were countless vendors on both sides and in the middle. The aroma was fragrant from all directions. The whole street was decorated with various decorations, including colorful ribbons and beautiful flowers, which added a bit of splendor compared to usual days. Morningstar and Hestia walked in the crowd. Hestia held two different snacks in her hands and ate them happily. Behind Hestia, Morningstar held more in her hands, all of which were snacks bought by Hestia. As a result, Hestia threw the rest to Morningstar after eating one. Speaking of which, do you really not need me to lead your newly recruited family members in the upper level for a few days? Morningstar was also showing off the snacks at this time, chewing and asking Hestia in front of him. Although I am now in the middle level of the battlefield and can even go to the lower level, I can still spare a few days to help and guide. No, don't bother you with this kind of thing. Let the child slowly hone herself. Hestia refused without hesitation. Of course, if possible, I will bring her over at night, and you can guide her a little on how to fight, okay? Although she rejected Morningstar's proposal to bring Belle, Hestia made a request. It is rare in Oreo to let other family members take you on adventures. It can be said that there is almost no such thing. Hestia also doesn't want to delay Morningstar's adventure because of herself. So Hestia refused. However, if possible, Hestia hopes that Morningstar can give a little guidance to her, the first family member. Morningstar's talent is so strong that he has upgraded in less than a month. He should be very strong in combat and should be able to know his new adventurer. That's no problem. You can bring people over any time when I'm in the library. Chinching would naturally not refuse Hestia's request. Given their relationship, this kind of thing is a piece of cake. Yeah, thank you very much. Hestia nodded and thanked him. No need to thank me between you and me. Chinching smiled and replied, Okay, then I won't say it. By the way, Chinching, I want to eat fried potato balls. I heard that there are new flavors. Let's go and have a look. Is it the store where you worked before? It's on North Street, right? There are some here too. Fried potato balls are a chain store. There are stores on every street. Okay, let's go buy them. Hee hee, it's agreed that you will pay for everything today. No problem. Holding Chinching's hand, Hestia squeezed through the crowd and ran forward. What the two of them didn't know was that on the second floor of a cafe on a street not far away, a group of 3 people were looking at them in surprise. If I'm not mistaken, that's really the little one, right? The little one is holding hands with a child from the underworld? Could it be that the little one's family? Loki said in disbelief. She brought her beloved Ace to Freya's date today. The two were talking happily, but suddenly they saw Hestia and Morningstar running down below. If Hestia's voice hadn't been so recognizable to her, she really wouldn't have noticed it. When Loki discovered this, the other two, Freya and Ace, naturally turned around and chopped over, seeing Morningstar and Hestia. When Freya, who was wearing a hooded cloak, saw Morningstar, her violet pupils under the hood flickered slightly. Is this child Hestia's family? Loki, Morningstar is not Hestia. At this moment, AC behind Loki spoke. This statement attracted the attention of Loki and Freya. Hey Stan, do you know that boy? Loki turned around and asked AC with narrowed eyes. Freya's eyes also shifted to AC. She was very concerned about Morningstar, but she had not found any information. From AC's appearance, it seemed that she knew something about Morningstar. I said before that he was the Morningstar we met when we came back from the expedition. We had some conversations with him. The main god of Morningstar's clan is a main god named Lucifer. Loki, have you forgotten? AC nodded and said, That's him. Hearing AC's answer, Loki suddenly realized that she really didn't remember it. Lucifer? It's a name I haven't heard of. Excuse me, Loki. After hearing what AIC said, Freya murmured in her heart, and then stood up and said goodbye to Loki. After that, Freya pushed the door and left. What's wrong with this guy? Why did he suddenly run away? Loki was puzzled. However, the next moment, Loki seemed to think of something and exclaimed, Are you asking me to pay the bill? Freya, this guy. Loki gritted his teeth and said. Immediately, Loki shook his head and continued to look at AIC. AIC, what's the situation with the kid next to the little one? Tell me in detail. Loki said to AIC. Okay. Chapter 45. Swapping tastes. Monsters out Morningstar cannot be compared with the real strong ones, but he has powerful fighting skills. In terms of perception, he cannot be compared with those powerful adventurers. At least, when Freya, Loki, and S looked at him and Hestia without malice, Morningstar did not notice. Perhaps Morningstar needs to continue fighting and training to hone a strong perception ability, or use auxiliary magic to perceive. However, these are all situations that require Morningstar to use actively. Passive situations still require Morningstar to fight and train himself. When other people's eyes fall on him, whether it is good or bad, Morningstar can feel it. Of course, there is one last way. That is to hope for Morningstar's Golden Finger System. If the Golden Finger System has a little vision, it can give Morningstar a perception-related ability at random, and Morningstar's defects in perception will be made up. Too much talk. At this time, Morningstar, who had no idea that he was being targeted by several people, had been brought to a fried potato vendor by Hestia. The method of making fried potato balls is very simple. It is just to throw the peeled potatoes into the oil pan and fry them. There is no technical content. I don't know why it is so popular. Maybe it's the ingredients. Chinching has never eaten it, so I don't know. Soon, the 2 fried potato balls were ready. Chinching and Hestia each had one, but they were 2 different flavors. Chinching's was strawberry milkshake flavor, and Hestia's was apple flavor. These 2 are new flavors. When Chinching heard the news, he was confused. Why? Shouldn't such a common thing have become a flavor long ago? It was only made into a new flavor now. Chinching didn't understand, but he was shocked. Looking at Hestia's face full of enjoyment, Chinching opened his mouth and finally didn't say anything and took a bite of the fried potato balls in his hand. But just after taking a bite, before Chinching could carefully taste whether it was delicious, Hestia's voice rang out. "Morningstar, let's exchange." Hestia took the fried potato balls from Morningstar's hand and stuffed hers into Morningstar's hand. Hestia, don't you think there's something wrong?" Looking at the apple-flavored fried potato balls in his hand, Morningstar was a little helpless. "What's wrong? Eat it quickly." Hestia waved her hand and said casually, then walked forward. Morningstar frowned slightly and wanted to say something. However, at this moment, Chinching suddenly discovered that the ears of Hestia were exposed on both sides under her long hair. The ears exposed under Hestia's long hair were red at this time. Looking at Hestia like this, Chinching seemed to understand something, smiled slightly, and took a bite of the fried potato balls in his hand with a click. As soon as this sound came out, Hestia, who was walking in front, suddenly froze all over, but soon recovered. This scene was seen by Chinching, but Chinching did not expose it. Running to Hestia's side, Chinching took Hestia's hand and walked forward. This kind of contact also happened in the original book, but Hestia was very calm and even had the ability to tease the protagonist Belle. Now, when it comes to herself, Hestia can't be carefree at all, but is shy. Very good, very good. This time Hestia did not take the lead. It was Morningstar's turn to lead Hestia. Hestia lowered her head and did not speak, like a shy quail. The two soon came to the arena built by the Ganesha family. This is the main venue for the Monster Festival, where the monster training activities of the Monster Festival are held in the arena. At this time, the arena was full of people and lively. Before Morningstar and Hestia entered it, they had already heard the fierce cheers coming from inside. "Let's go." Morningstar pulled Hestia toward the entrance. Hestia did not break free and let Morningstar pull her into the arena. The arena built by the Ganesha family is similar to the Roman Colosseum in Morningstar's previous life. It is an oval building with a flat area in the center as a performance area. The surrounding audience seats gradually rise. It is an outdoor building without a roof. Morningstar took Hestia to pick a seat and watched it. "Training monsters? This is my first time." Hestia had calmed down at this time, as if what happened just now had not happened at all. She looked at the performance below with sparkling eyes. The Monster Festival is held once a year. She has been in the lower world for less than a year, so she has naturally never seen it. Today is her first time. Morningstar nodded in agreement. Like Hestia, he had never seen a taming show in 2 lives. Today was the first time, and Morningstar was also very interested in it. The two watched with relish, expressing their opinions from time to time and discussing the performance below. What Morningstar didn't know was that when he and Hestia were watching the taming show in the arena, Freya, wearing a cloak, appeared in a dark and humid place inside the arena. Looking at the monsters imprisoned in the room, Freya's mouth curled up a charming smile. "Good kids, do me a favor." Even Morningstar didn't expect that the plot would collapse to such an extent. On the day of the Monster Festival, Freya still appeared on East Street and even attacked the monsters imprisoned by the Ganesha clan and released them. When Morningstar noticed this, there was already some commotion in the arena. Morningstar could occasionally hear people talking about things related to monsters. "What happened?" Hestia naturally noticed this situation and murmured in a low voice. "It seems that the monster is out of the cage." Morningstar told Hestia what he heard. "Hey, Chapter 46, 2 Shocked People, Veins of Light. Hestia, I want to go out and take a look. Do you want to continue watching the animal training show here, or go out with me?" After looking at the direction outside, Chinching turned his head and said to Hestia, "In the original book, such a riot did happen during the Monster Festival. As for the reason, it was because Freya wanted to use monsters to test the potential of Belle Crane, now Belle. However, the current Belle has just arrived in Oreo, and Freya should not have noticed her. This time, things still happened according to the original book. It is estimated that the goddess of beauty Freya found out that she participated in this monster festival, so she wanted to test herself like the original test of Belle. Chinching felt that the incident might be caused by herself, and she should go out to take a look. Chinching is not a saint. Chinching just feels that the incident might be caused by herself. If she has the ability, she should deal with it. This is the human nature born from the education that Chinching received in his previous life. P.S. I feel that online novels nowadays are all about not caring about things that do not concern them, even if it is caused by some special reasons related to themselves. The protagonist will ignore it and don't know why it becomes like this. Do you have any opinions? Even if it has nothing to do with themselves, when encountering some special things, Chinching will give help to the best of his ability. Of course, if he is blackmailed after helping, then Chinching will not be polite and will directly send him to the West to see the Buddha. This world is not like the previous life. Even the people of Loki's family will choose to help when encountering such things. Chinching thinks that he is no worse than the people of Loki's family. And, most importantly, Chinching remembered that Aegina seemed to be maintaining order outside. If he didn't go to see her, Chinching was really worried that Aegina would get into trouble. Aegina is the second friend he has made since he came to this world, and a very good friend. I will go with you. Facing Chinching's inquiry, Hestia chose to go out with Chinching without hesitation. Yeah, Chinching nodded, and then the two of them stood up and left the audience seats and the arena. After coming outside, it was already a mess outside, and the roars of monsters could be heard from all the streets of East Street. Chinching, why are you here? Who is this? As luck would have it, Chinching and Hestia just came out and met Aegina and Aegina's friend Misha, who were maintaining order. Aegina, I'm so glad you're okay. This is Hestia, my friend, a god. Hestia, this is my adventurer consultant, Aegina. After seeing Aegina, Chinching breathed a sigh of relief from the bottom of his heart and immediately introduced each other to Aegina and Hestia. Hello, God Hestia. Hearing that Hestia was actually a god, Aegina hurriedly bowed slightly to Hestia and greeted her. Hello, Aegina. Thank you for taking care of Morningstar. Hestia put one hand on her waist, nodded to Aegina, and said to Aegina, by the way, Morningstar, the monsters are rioting. Don't run around. It's best to go into the arena. After the two sides introduced themselves, Aegina said to Morningstar and Hestia. In Aegina's cognition, Morningstar is just a new adventurer, and his strength is not strong. The monsters released are basically very strong monsters at the LV1 level. It is very dangerous for Morningstar to meet any one of them. She didn't want Morningstar to get hurt in this monster riot. As for these monsters, she had asked Loki's sword princess Ace to deal with them. I was just about to talk about this. Aegina, I'll leave Hestia to you. I'll go deal with these monsters. Morningstar smiled and said. The next second, Morningstar instantly entered the reincarnation eye mode, and his whole body was covered with azure light. Seeing the changes in Morningstar, the three people present were shocked. We'll talk about it later. Morningstar smiled slightly, and then his figure flashed, turning into a stream of light and soaring into the sky. Under the gaze of Hestia and the other two, he landed on the tallest building nearby. Is this Morningstar's magic? Seeing Morningstar now in a high place, Aegina said blankly, now is not the time to talk about this. Aegina, have you forgotten that the adventurer you are responsible for is just a new adventurer? He actually said he was going to deal with the rioting monsters. It's too dangerous. Hearing that her best friend was actually concerned about Morningstar's current appearance, Misha was immediately furious and reminded her, oh, by the way, those monsters are very strong, and Morningstar can't handle them. Aegina also reacted at this time, and the whole person was anxious. At this time, Hestia's voice sounded in their ears. Don't worry, Morningstar has been upgraded, and it's more than enough to deal with these LV1 monsters. The two turned their heads and saw that Hestia was full of confidence at this time. God, Hestia, what did you say? Morningstar upgraded? Aegina was a little unbelievable. Well, Morningstar just upgraded last night. Hestia nodded and said with a smile, her face full of complacency, as if Morningstar was a member of her family. Seeing Hestia's genuine look, Aegina and Misha looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Then the two of them shifted their gazes to the tallest building nearby, a chimney. Morningstar upgraded? Looking at the figure on the chimney, Aegina's eyes flickered and she murmured in her heart. At this time, on the chimney, Morningstar closed his eyes and murmured in a low voice. Veins of light. Buzz. As Morningstar's murmurs fell, Invisible rays of light intertwined into an invisible network and spread out in all directions. In an instant, a 3D pattern appeared in Morningstar's mind, showing all the scenes of several nearby streets. Chapter 47, Reign of Light, the Vein of Light. This is a light attribute auxiliary magic created by Morningstar. It is a perceptual magic that can use the refraction of light to transmit the refracted image of light into Morningstar's mind. It is a very powerful auxiliary magic. As long as Morningstar's magic power and mental power are strong enough, Morningstar can perceive the entire Oreo. In an instant, Morningstar found the rioting monsters on several streets, and also found the Sword Princess Ace, who was killing monsters, and Freya, who was waiting for something on a roof somewhere. Sure enough, it was Freya who did it. Morningstar murmured after opening his eyes. The next second, Morningstar raised one hand to the sky. Rain of light! The huge magic circle quickly moved Morningstar, suspended above East Street, and directly covered 2 streets. The appearance of the magic circle attracted everyone's attention. Magic circle on a street. Loki looked at the huge magic circle that appeared in the sky, slightly opened his squinting eyes, and was a little surprised. So big. After just getting rid of a rioting monster, AIC also looked over and looked at the magic circle covering the entire street. Not East Street. There are many streets on East Street, referring to the street where AIC is, and couldn't help but murmured. It was the first time she saw such a huge magic circle. Lavilia's magic circle is very powerful, but it is only powerful in magic power, and the magic circle is not so big. On the other side, Hestia, Aegina, and others also saw it. It is necessary not to see it. This magic circle is the morning star in front of the 3 of them. They saw Qinxing raise one hand to the sky, and then a small magic circle appeared from Qinxing's hand and flew towards the sky. As it flew higher and higher, the magic circle became larger and larger, and in the end it almost covered the sky in their sight. Compared with the shock in the hearts of others, the 3 people who witnessed this scene with their own eyes were the most shocked. What a big magic! Morningstar has magic, and it's so powerful. Is Morningstar's magic so strong? Aina said blankly as she looked at the scene in front of her. As we all know, the stronger the magic of the person who uses it. This is common sense. Although Morningstar has not shown the power of magic now, the range of this magic circle alone can make people imagine. After all, magic is also needed to form a magic circle. This magic circle is so big. Can a magic circle be so big? Lafia, on another street, Diana, who had just come out of the arena not long ago, asked Lafia beside her after seeing the magic circle above her head. No, I have never seen such a big magic circle. The formation of a magic circle is originally very mentally consuming. No one can create such a big magic circle. Lafia shook her head repeatedly. This thing is beyond the scope. The larger the range of the magic circle, the larger the range that can be attacked. Who doesn't want to make their own magic circle bigger? But it is impossible to perfectly create such a huge magic circle. It is very troublesome to construct, unstable, and consumes a lot of mental energy. This is the first time she has seen such a huge magic circle. How could Lafia know that Morningstar's magic is the son of light? Controlling light and manipulating light to form magic is as simple as drinking water. There is no need to study it like ordinary magicians like them. As long as Morningstar's imagination is enough, he can create it. This may be a bit Versailles, but it was really not difficult for Morningstar to create this magic. In addition, the eyes of the people on the entire East Street were focused on the huge magic circle above their heads. With such a large magic circle hanging above their heads, who would not be afraid? In East Street, especially the residents and adventurers under the magic circle, they were very worried that the magic circle would suddenly burst out with light, and then the terrifying magic would pour down on them. Not only East Street, but almost all the people in Oreo cast their eyes over. One by one, they were attracted. This magic on the roof of a house on East Street. Freya frowned under the hood, and her face was slightly ugly. She didn't know who released this magic, but she felt that her plan might be ruined. She didn't even see Qinxing. Chinching didn't know about the various forms of people on E Street. After the magic circle was formed and stabilized, Chinching was also slightly stunned because he didn't think that he just increased the power and the magic circle actually became larger. But now is not the time to think about this. With a thought, Chinching activated the magic called Rain of Light. Dense beams of light poured out from the magic circle. At this moment, everyone on E Street was on alert, extremely vigilant. They were afraid that these light-attributed magic would fall on them. So many beams of light. On the street, Diana looked at this scene and couldn't help but exclaimed, "So fast!" Dion also shouted in surprise. Because the speed of these beams was too fast, Dion made defensive preparations at the first time. Such a powerful magic fluctuation. This kind of fluctuation is already close to the first level firepower. And Lafia also exclaimed when she saw the beams rushing out of the magic circle. She is very sensitive to magic fluctuations and can sense the intensity of the magic fluctuations on the beams flying out of the magic circle, which is very close to the first level magic fluctuations. In other words, the power of these beams is close to the first level magic power. Really? Hearing what Lafia said, Diana was shocked. Absolutely not wrong. Lafia's expression was very firm. To be honest, not only Lafia was surprised, but even Morningstar, the initiator, was a little surprised at this time. After the upgrade, my magic power is so much stronger. Is this the effect of the magic guide? Chapter 48. Encountering Loki's Familia again. Diana is shocked, to be honest. Not only other people were shocked by the magic that Chinching suddenly released, but even Chinching himself was shocked. Not only was he shocked by the size of the magic circle he released, but he was also frightened by the power of his current magic. Chinching felt that the power of these beams was almost close to the power when he released the Golden Wheel reincarnation to kill Goliath. If this power fell on the ground, it would blow up big holes on the ground. Fortunately, this magic is a wide area tracking and annihilation magic. It can be used with the light vein to chase enemies within the range of the light vein. Chinching can control the direction of the magic himself. Otherwise, Chinching is really worried about whether he can afford the compensation. Concentrating on controlling the magic, Chinching controlled the beams to chase in the direction of the rioting monsters. On the streets where the monsters were rioting, the members of the Ganesha clan who were fighting against the monsters and the nearby residents who had not had time to escape only felt a flash of light in front of their eyes, and the rioting monsters in front of them exploded directly, turning into ashes and floating in the air. This scene directly stunned many members of the Ganesha clan. It was not until the magic stone fell to the ground and made a ding-dong sound that these members of the Ganesha clan and residents came back to their senses. What a fast magic! A member of the Ganesha clan couldn't help but say. Just now, he didn't even see how the monster was killed. He just felt a flash in front of his eyes, and the monster died directly. Not only is it fast, but it is also very powerful. The magic power is at least at level LV2. Another member of the Ganesha clan followed. In other words, these members of the Ganesha clan are not magicians, and they don't know much about the power of magic. If they knew that the beam that just flashed past them and killed the monsters was as powerful as the magic firepower of level 4, they would be scared. This scene happened on the street where monsters were rioting. What a fast magic! AC stood with her sword put away, looking at the magic stone on the ground, and murmured in a low voice. Immediately, AC jumped up and came to the roof again and began to look for Loki's position. Not far from AC, Freya, who was wearing a hood, had no anger on her face at this time, but a faint smile, but this smile made people shudder. You disrupted my plan. Don't let me find you, otherwise I will definitely let Oda go. After whispering, Freya jumped down from the roof and slowly sank into the dark alley. Her plan was ruined. If she wanted to see the strength of Morningstar, she could only find another opportunity, or let the children in the family come to test it. On the other side, Morningstar. After killing all the rioting monsters instantly, Morningstar returned to the ground and exited the Samsara I mode. As soon as he landed, Hestia and the other two ran over. Fortunately, there was no one else here, otherwise Morningstar would definitely be surrounded now. Morningstar, what kind of magic is this? It's so powerful. Hestia said with a little excitement. Rain of light, tracking magic. Morningstar said with a smile, not afraid of any trouble after being known. Tracking magic? How powerful is it? Are you coming here now to kill all those riding monsters? Hestia heard this, and her eyes suddenly lit up and continued to ask. Well, they're all destroyed. Morningstar smiled and nodded. Great. Hestia was happy for Morningstar and happy that Morningstar had such strong strength. Reaching out and patting Hestia's hair, Morningstar looked at Aegina. Morningstar, you have upgraded? Looking at Morningstar, Aina opened her mouth and asked the question in her heart with a complicated expression. Well, I just upgraded yesterday. I was thinking of telling you tomorrow, but I didn't expect to meet you here today. Morningstar smiled and nodded, explaining. Congratulations, Morningstar. Hearing what Morningstar said, Aina's originally complicated heart was relieved at once, and she smiled and congratulated. Upgraded in less than a month. Mr. Morningstar, once your situation is known to others, it will definitely cause a huge sensation. Misha beside Aina was very excited at this time. She knew that Morningstar had only been an adventurer for a short time, less than a month. And in such a short time, Morningstar actually upgraded. The fastest upgrade record in Oreo now is the Sword Lady AIC of the Loki family, who took more than a year to upgrade from LV1 to LV2. And now Morningstar's speed is nearly 10 times faster than that of Sword Lady AIC. If it spreads, it will definitely make a sensation in the whole of Oreo. Just as Misha's voice fell, a voice came over. What are you talking about? Everyone turned their heads when they heard it. I saw Tiona, and Lafia of the Loki family walking towards this side. It was Tiona who spoke just now. Big Sever, Angry Snake, Thousand Fairies? Aina called out the titles of the three. Tiona, Lafia. Morningstar was also a little surprised. He didn't expect to meet the three here. Brother Morningstar, I didn't expect to see you here. Tiona was very surprised. She hadn't seen Morningstar since the last time she met Morningstar for the first time. She didn't expect to meet him here. Tiona and Lafia didn't speak, but just nodded to Morningstar. Do you know each other? Aegina was a little surprised. Hestia on the side was not surprised, because she had long known that Morningstar had met with the high-level members of Loki's family. Yeah, I met them before in the dungeon. Morningstar replied with a smile. Aegina nodded and did not ask any more questions. Loki's family, why are you guys here? Hestia spoke at this time, frowning slightly at Diana and the other two. She had heard of the names of the three people, all of whom were from Loki's family. Who are you? Diana was a little confused. Why did the girl in front of her have such great hostility towards her and the others when they first met? Hestia. Hestia put her hands on her hips, raised her head and chest, and said confidently. Morningstar didn't know whether Hestia was confident or not, but Morningstar knew that Diana had lost her confidence after being hit. Diana looked at Hestia's chest with empty eyes. The next second, Diana rushed towards Hestia and attacked directly. Damn it, why is your child so big? Wow, you, what on earth are you doing, Amazon? Let me go. For a while, a god and an Amazon were in a mess. The others were speechless and helpless watching this scene, and they were also a little embarrassed. Don't worry about them. Morningstar, you were here just now. Then you must have seen the person who was wrapped in light just now. Do you know who that person is? Where did he go? Dion glanced at the two people who were fighting together, ignored them, and then looked at the three people of Morningstar and asked. Hearing this, Aegina and Misha looked at each other, and finally their eyes fell on Morningstar. Dion and Lafia looked at the actions of Aegina and Misha and also looked over. What do you mean? Tiona was a little confused. Why were these two guild staff members looking at Brother Morningstar? Can you tell me? Aina asked Morningstar. Well, tell me. It's no big deal. Seeing Aina asking what he meant, Morningstar thought for a moment and then nodded. Okay. The conversation between the two made Tiona and Lafia even more confused. However, the next moment, Aina's answer made the two widen their eyes. Morningstar is it. Chapter 49 New Monster. I didn't expect it to be you. Tiona looked at Morningstar in surprise. She guessed it when Aina looked at Morningstar. With strong melee strength and powerful elemental magic, It seems that only the white fairy of Freya's family can be found in Oreo now. Now, there is another Morningstar. Mr. Morningstar, your magic attainments are really amazing. Lafia's eyes were full of admiration. Although her magic power was stronger than that of Morningstar, the huge magic circle of Morningstar really stunned her. If she could also release such a large magic circle, then her magic volley of fire javelins could release more fire javelins at one time. Because of the size of the magic circle, the number of fire javelins she could fire at one time was very small, far from her limit. If the magic circle was larger, she could fire more fire javelins. Thank you for the compliment. Morningstar replied with a smile. At this time, Tiona, who was arguing with Hestia, also noticed the situation here. Although I knew that you were very strong, Morningstar, I didn't expect you could use magic, and your magic was so powerful. After hearing the conversation between several people, Diana knew the situation. While fighting with Hestia, Diana looked at Morningstar with sparkling eyes and said, when they first met Morningstar, Morningstar faced the monster feast of Minotaur alone and killed the monster feast alone. At that time, they knew that Morningstar was very strong, at least an adventurer with combat power level 3. Unexpectedly, Morningstar was not only very strong in melee combat, but also better in magic. My Morningstar is very strong. Hestia, who was also fighting with Diana, said proudly. Are you Lucifer? Diana was stunned and blurted out. Others also looked over. Aegina and Misha blinked, not knowing what was going on for a while. And Dion and Lafia looked at Diana, speechlessly. As the person involved, Hestia's face froze when she heard this. It's none of your business. Lucifer is a man's name. How could I be that? And didn't I just say my name is Hestia? Tiona's words stirred up a hornet's nest, and Hestia's hand became stronger. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Hestia's method was very strange. As for how strange it was, use your imagination. Even though Tiona was a first-level adventurer, she couldn't help but scream in pain at this time. Others watched this scene, and they were speechless and sweating. After a while, the farce finally ended. Tioni and the other two also understood the relationship between Morningstar and Hestia. Little one. At this moment, Loki's voice suddenly came from not far away. The next second, a ray of dust flashed, and Loki's figure appeared where Tiona was, and he wrestled with Hestia instead of Tiona. This situation made the people present ashamed. Ugh, it hurts, both my chest and my butt hurt. Where did Loki get the strength to knock me flying? Not far away, Diana stood up while rubbing her butt and her breasts, her face speechless. Upon hearing this, Tioni felt a little gloating and was about to say something. However, before Tioni could finish her words, a strange noise came from the other side of the square, and the ground began to shake. The next second, the stone-paved ground suddenly exploded, and then a thick green vine rushed out from the ground and twisted in the air. Is there a monster? The vine that suddenly rushed out scared everyone, and then Tioni and Tiona rushed out at the same time and attacked the newly appeared monster. Lafia, I'll leave the long-range attack to you. While launching the attack, Tioni did not forget to order Lafia to release magic. Yes, Tioni-san. Lafia responded with a firm look in her eyes, and then quickly began to chant magic. The three of them threw Morningstar aside at the same time, and had no intention of letting Morningstar join the fight. Seeing the three of them take action, Morningstar just stood there and did not take action. There is no way. We'll let Hestia and Aegina and others here. Hestia and others are really powerless against the monsters. If you don't pay attention, something may go wrong. Seeing the new monsters appear, Hestia and Loki stopped fighting. Hestia quickly ran to the side of Morningstar to seek shelter. Loki saw Hestia running behind Morningstar and followed her. What are you doing here? Looking at Loki, who ran to her side, Hestia was full of disgust. What do you care about me? Loki rolled his eyes at Hestia. Hestia glared back, but didn't drive Loki away. Come to think of it, you're the Morningstar that Finn and others are talking about, right? Who is your main god? I have been in heaven for so long, and I basically know all the gods, but I have never heard of the name Lucifer. Loki looked at Morningstar and asked curiously. Just now, she learned about Morningstar from Ace, but she had never heard of such a god as Lucifer. So she was very curious about Morningstar now. Loki, stay away from my Morningstar. Seeing Loki like this, Hestia suddenly felt a sense of crisis in her heart. She stretched out her hand and pressed Loki's face, pushing Loki back desperately. Little guy, you want to fight again, right? I'll accompany you. The two of them started to quarrel again in an instant. Seeing the two quarreling again, Morningstar and Aegina were a little speechless. Aegina watched the two gods fighting with a dry laugh. At this time, the voices of Dion and Diana, who were fighting not far away, came over. Lafia, be careful. Get out of the way. Chapter 50. Taking action, the monster that suddenly appeared was a new type of monster, the piranha plant, with a very hard appearance. Even if Tioni and Tiona, two first-level adventurers, used fist attacks, they could not kill it with one blow, and even made the two feel pain on their fists. Tioni and Tiona came out to participate in the Monster Festival today, so they did not bring weapons. Without weapons, the two were unable to kill the new piranha plant monster. The new piranha plant monster has a very keen perception and targeting of magic. On Lafia's side, when Lafia's chanting text was halfway through, a magic circle also appeared on the ground, surrounded by magic elements, and had already attracted the magic power of the outside world. In an instant, the new piranha plant monster felt the fluctuation of magic, and the monster that was shaking with Tioni and Tiona directly abandoned Tioni and Tiona and rushed towards Lafia, and the speed was extremely fast. Tioni and Tiona had just finished their attack and were in a state of stiffness. They had no time to stop the attack, so they shouted in panic, wanting Lafia to leave as soon as possible. At this time, Lafia also noticed the carnivorous plant monster rushing towards her. However, facing the monster rushing over, Lafia did not do what Tioni and Tiona said. She froze in place, even forgot to chant, and the magic circle dissipated directly, looking at the monster rushing over with horror. This is Lafia's flaw. Lafia is very easy to get nervous, not just towards people. The same is true for monsters. When encountering monsters close to her, Lafia often becomes nervous and afraid, and her mind goes blank for a moment, and she can't think about anything and can only watch the monster attack. In the past expeditions, there were other people who attacked Lafia in time, or helped Lafia escape from the monster's attack, so Lafia rarely gets hurt. However, this time, there was no companion beside Lafia, so it was almost certain that she would be attacked. No way. Although there was no companion with her this time, Morningstar had been keeping an eye on the battlefield. When a new type of carnivorous plant monster abandoned Dion and Diana and attacked Lafia, Morningstar had already taken action. A large amount of blue flames suddenly appeared on Morningstar's body, and he entered the Reincarnation I'm mode in an instant. After entering the Reincarnation I'm mode, Morningstar appeared in front of Lafia in a flash, and with a big wave of his hand, a luminous ball burst out from the palm of Morningstar's hand, turning into a cannonball and bombarding the new type of carnivorous plant monster. Bang, bang, bang. The violent explosions continued, followed by the shrill wailing of the new monster carnivorous plant. Under the rosary light cannon released by Morningstar, the new type of carnivorous plant monster was blown to pieces, and purple blood continued to seep out from the scales of the carnivorous plant. It's really tough. No wonder the fists of Tioni and Tiona, two first-level adventurers, were hurt when they attacked with their fists. Chinching was a little surprised when he saw that the rosary light cannon he released did not kill the new type of carnivorous plant monster, but only caused some injuries to it. Thank you, Brother Chinching. Tioni and Tiona also rushed over at this time, rebuilt the new type of carnivorous plant monster, and pulled it back into the battle. They took the time to thank Chinching. Thank you very much, Mr. Chinching. Lafia also reacted at this time, and thanked Chinching with a little nervousness. You and I are compatriots. No need to thank me. Chinching smiled and said, Yeah. Lafia smiled and nodded repeatedly when she heard the words. Yes, the person in front of me is my compatriot. Thinking of this, Lafia was not as nervous as before when facing Morningstar, and she relaxed a little. Lafia, are you okay? At this time, Loki did not continue to make trouble with Hestia, ran over, and said to Lafia with concern, "I'm fine, Loki. Thanks to Mr. Morningstar." Lafia shook her head and said, "Thanks, Morningstar boy." Loki nodded and then thanked Morningstar carelessly. Yeah, as soon as Morningstar finished speaking, a breeze suddenly appeared beside several people, and then a figure fell lightly. "Ah, AI C10, you're finally back. Go and help Dion and Diana." Seeing the person coming, Loki immediately opened his eyes and said to the person, "Yes, the person coming was AIC. Just now, after Chinching used magic to kill many monsters, AC was worried and walked through all the streets. After finding that the monsters had indeed been killed, she came back to look for Loki. Otherwise, with AC's speed, she would have returned here long ago, and it would not have taken so long to come back." AC did not speak, but just nodded slightly and then turned on the wind spirit sprint and was ready to take action. However, Chinching stopped AC. Seeing Chinching stop her, AC's magic disappeared as she tilted her head slightly to look at Chinching and did not speak. However, Chinching could see what AC meant by this look, which was to ask why he stopped her. "Leave this piranha plant to me." Chinching smiled slightly and said. Chinching knew that because the piranha plant was too hard, AC used the overly powerful wind spirit sprint magic to deal with it, and as a result, the sword broke, and the Gobernia family paid a large amount of compensation. Since he knew this, Chinching thought he should be kind enough to let it avoid the thunder. Hearing this, AC did not object. After a short silence, she sheathed her sword and quietly looked at Chinching, as if waiting for Chinching's performance. Others were also curious about what Chinching was going to do. Chinching ignored the inquiring eyes of others, but shouted loudly to Dion and Diana, who were still fighting with the man-eating plant. Diana, leave that guy." Hearing Chinching's shout, the two sisters looked over and saw AC there, and she was not ready to fight at all and looked like she was watching a show. After thinking for a few seconds, the two sisters abandoned the new man-eating plant monster and left the battlefield. Just after leaving the battlefield, before the sisters Dion and Diana asked why they were asked to leave, they saw a blue stream of light passing in front of them. Then, the man-eating plant, whose shell they could not break even without using weapons, was directly pierced, and it was killed with one blow, and it broke into pieces in front of them and turned into ashes. Chapter 51. Instant kill. Aina's feelings. Wow, what is that? It penetrated that thing in one go. Diana said blankly, "It seems to be magic." Dion thought for a moment and then said, "Instant magic?" Beside Morningstar, AC glanced at Morningstar and murmured in a low voice, "Hey, San, that was not magic just now. I didn't feel any magic." Lafia, an elf who is very sensitive to magic, corrected. Although Morningstar's current appearance is indeed easy for people to associate with magic, she can feel that the three streams of light released by Morningstar, including the light wrapped around Morningstar, have nothing to do with magic, and there is no magic fluctuation. Is that so? AC nodded in realization. My Morningstar is amazing." Hestia puffed up her chest, her nose was raised high, and she said to Loki proudly, "It's not your family. What are you proud of?" Loki curled his lips in disdain. Although Morningstar performed very brilliantly, she was only at the second level at most. With so many first-level followers under her, how could she envy a second-level adventurer? Besides, Morningstar was not Hestia's follower, so what was Hestia proud of? Morningstar and I are lovers. Morningstar is great, so I'm also great. Facing Loki's contempt, Hestia didn't care at all. She hugged Morningstar's arm excitedly and raised her eyebrows proudly at Loki. Hearing this, Loki was shocked. Oh my god, the virgin goddess actually found a partner. After being shocked, Loki's eyes fell on Morningstar, wanting to see what Morningstar had in mind for Hestia. There were so many male gods in the heaven, but this guy didn't like any of them. But in the few months in the lower world, this little one found a child in the lower world as a partner. In an instant, Loki developed a strong interest in Morningstar. Hestia also noticed Loki's naked eyes, and Hestia immediately showed a look of vigilance. "Loki, I warn you, don't try to take my Morningstar." Loki didn't say anything when he heard this, but his eyes narrowed again. With a half smile, which made Hestia feel a little scared, and she always felt that Loki was planning something shady. Listening to the conversation between Hestia and Loki, the eyes of the people around Morningstar fell on Morningstar. They were also very curious about what was so special about Morningstar that he could be favored by God. As for Aegina, when she heard Hestia declare that Morningstar was her partner and Morningstar did not refute, for some reason, Aegina felt a little uncomfortable. She felt like her beloved thing was taken away, and her eyes flickered slightly when she looked at Morningstar. She didn't know why she felt this way, because she obviously regarded Morningstar as her younger brother. But just when Aina was thinking about why she had such an idea, Dion and Diana came over. Morningstar, your move just now was really powerful. Holding her head with both hands, Diana smiled and waved to Morningstar. Well, the shell of that thing was so hard, but you penetrated it in one go. Dion also nodded in agreement. The piranha plant that appeared just now was really hard to deal with. Its shell was too hard, and it was difficult for the two of them to kill it without using weapons. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fought for so long. Even without using weapons, they're still level 5. And Morningstar just used magic and killed the monster instantly. To some extent, Morningstar's strength can be compared with level 5. However, Dion and Diana didn't know that the reason why Morningstar could kill the piranha plant monster so easily was entirely due to the power of the Seeking Dao Jade. Because the Seeking Dao Jade is not something that ordinary people can touch. If ordinary people touch it, they will be annihilated by the power of the Seeking Dao Jade. The reason why Dion and Diana retreated was also because they were afraid of accidentally hurting the two of them. The piranha plant just now was killed instantly because of the special power of the Seeking Dao Jade. If there was no Seeking Dao Jade, it would be a bit difficult to kill it with the power of Morningstar. Just as Dion and Diana thought, even if they didn't use weapons, they were still level 5. How could he possibly kill a monster that was difficult to kill at level 5? His current combat power was only at the level 3 limit. He could indeed kill it with the Samsara mode, but apart from the 2 big moves and the Seeking Truth Jade, it would take a long time to kill it with the other moves. Thank you for the compliment. The two thought that Qinxing was powerful in magic, and Qinxing didn't refute it. Qinxing couldn't take the initiative to explain the Seeking Truth Jade to the two. Just as Qinxing finished speaking, there was movement at the place where the piranha plant just appeared, and the ground shook again. The next second, 3 piranha plant monsters broke the ground and soared into the sky. Anything else? Seeing that 3 new piranha plant monsters had appeared over there, Diana blurted out. Then, Diana's eyes quickly shifted to Qinxing, and she spoke to Qinxing with a mouthful of white teeth. Hey, brother Qinxing, please help me. Since Qinxing has already killed the piranha plant in seconds, let Qinxing kill the next 3 piranha plants in seconds. After all, this is the ground, and if you can kill them in seconds, then kill them in seconds. Otherwise, it will cause damage to the street. This is also the reason why they let Lafia release magic after they rushed out, just now, just to end the battle as soon as possible. Others also looked at Qinxing, and they seemed to have the same idea. Please help me, Qinxing. As a guild staff, Aina attaches the most importance to this matter. Suppressing the discomfort in her heart, she asked Qinxing for help. Qinxing heard it and nodded slightly. The next second, the azure streamer bloomed again. Swish! Chapter 52 Dionysus. Brother Morningstar is incredible. Before, I thought Brother Morningstar only had strong fighting skills, and his own strength was only in the range of LV2. Even if he had powerful fighting skills, at most, he would have the fighting power of LV3. But now it seems that it is far more than that. To kill those carnivorous plants in 1 second, you need at least LV4 strength, and you must be equipped with corresponding weapons. But Brother Morningstar didn't even use weapons, and didn't use any fighting skills at all. He just used magic to kill them in 1 second. Tiona-san, Mr. Morningstar didn't use magic. It should be a skill. It doesn't matter, either one is fine. Anyway, it's all Brother Morningstar's power. Tiona waved her hand casually. It should be because Brother Morningstar has upgraded. Didn't the half-elf lady from the guild just now ask Brother Morningstar to register for the upgrade as soon as possible? Brother Morningstar should have upgraded from LV2 to LV3. It's normal that his strength has increased after his grace has been upgraded. Tiona thought for a long time and then came to this conclusion. That's too much of an upgrade. You just jump a level right after upgrading. Tiona frowned and said. After hearing this, everyone else was silent. Because Tiona was right, the gap was too big. Morningstar had just upgraded, but his strength had already reached LV4. This is too exaggerated. This is because the two of them joined the Loki clan a little late, and they didn't go out of their way to inquire about other clans. Otherwise, they knew the leader of the Australia clan, Elise, and they wouldn't think it was exaggerated. Because Elise was LV4 at the beginning and had the combat power of LV5. However, when the guild announces Morningstar's level, or even if they can understand the situation, they will definitely be more shocked. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. What do you think Loki is doing? Why doesn't he go back with us? Deanna shook her head and put aside the topic, and then curiously talked about Loki with the other three. Just now, after they separated from Morningstar and Hestia, Loki also ran away without telling them what he was doing. I don't know. AIC and the other two shook their heads when they heard it. They didn't know what Loki was doing. On the other hand, after dealing with the monster riot, the Monster Festival continued. Morningstar and Hestia once again joined a monster festival and strolled on the streets of East Street. For an afternoon, Morningstar and Hestia were shopping, eating snacks, and buying various small toys. Morningstar also gave Hestia a set of exquisite dresses. After strolling around for an afternoon, the two found a pub and had dinner before returning to the library. Morningstar, I'm going to talk to Belle about the guidance first, and I'll be back later. At the entrance of the library, Hestia waved at Morningstar and said, Well, go ahead and come back early. Morningstar nodded slightly and waved back. Well, I'll go then, Hestia replied, and then trotted away. Morningstar watched Hestia's figure gradually disappear before returning to the library. At the same time, on the other side, in a luxurious building, in a dim room, a blonde nobleman held a yellow magic stone in his hand and observed quietly. When did such a powerful adventurer appear in Orrio? Looking at the magic stone in his hand, the blonde nobleman murmured as if talking to himself. This blonde nobleman was none other than the villain in the world of Dikuo, the god of wine Dionysus, a god of Gobi who planned the destruction of Orrio. For an existence that wants to destroy the entire Orrio, Dionysus will not leave behind any adventurer who may threaten his plan. In today's Orrio, he knows many powerful adventurers, and he also has a good grasp of the information of these people, and will take these people into account when planning. The emergence of a sudden force like Morningstar is what Dionysus least wants to see. Because it is easy to destroy his plan, it is necessary to firmly grasp the information of these powerful adventurers. Lord Dionysus, I'll check it right away. In the dark corner, scarlet pupils flickered slightly, and the black-haired elf stroked his chest with one hand and bowed slightly to Dionysus. Felweiss Shalia, an adventurer who was resurrected after death, is one of the monsters and the strongest one among the monsters. His strength is comparable to that of LV7, enough to compete with the strongest adventurer in the city, Oda. Be careful, don't be discovered. Dionysus nodded slightly and ordered in a gentle voice. Yes, Lord Dionysus. Chinching didn't know that he was targeted by Dionysus, the big boss, just for making a move today. However, even if he was targeted, Chinching wouldn't care too much. Chinching was not afraid of Dionysus, but Chinching didn't want to provoke Dionysus for the time being. At the same time, on the other side, in a single room in a gorgeous hotel, Freya and Loki were sitting opposite each other. You released the monsters today, right? They caused us a lot of trouble. Loki looked at Freya with a smile and said, How was that possible? My plan today has gone down the drain. Not long after your sword princess started to clean up the monsters, weren't the rioting monsters destroyed by an unknown existence? Freya said that she would not take the blame. Although she did cause the monster riot, she did not let the children of Loki's family work hard. Sword Princess AC had just started to clean up the monsters, and the monsters she released were interrupted by an unknown magician, and all the monsters were completely wiped out. Although the monsters in front were destroyed by Morningstar, the monsters behind almost hurt my Lafia. Loki raised his eyebrows and said a little unhappy. Lafia is one of her treasures, and nothing can happen to her. Hmm? Are you saying that the magician who cleared the monsters was the child we saw before? Freya ignored Loki's step away and focused on what Loki had just said. Ah, it was the child of Lucifer's family. He killed all the monsters with a magic trick. Loki did not hide this and said it truthfully. Hey, don't change the subject. You almost hurt my Lafia. How should this account be settled? However, Freya completely ignored Loki, smiling at the corners of her eyes, and muttered in her heart. Really, it turned out that it was you who released the magic. It seems that you are very powerful, Morningstar. It seems that my plan has not been ruined. Chapter 53. The Higher Light Spirit. The next morning, Chinching rarely went to the underground city and slept in at home. The library was not open today because Hestia was going to take Belle to the guild to register and create a family. While Chinching was still sleeping in, Hestia had already woken up and left the library, went back to the underground church to find Belle, and took Belle to the Pantheon. Chinching slept until the sun was high in the sky. I haven't slept for so long in a long time. Opening his eyes, Chinching looked at the sunlight shining in from the window. His expression was slightly dazed. But soon Chinching recovered. He got up and went to the bathroom, washed up briefly, and then returned to the bed. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Chinching habitually looked at the system to see if there were any new prompts. The system received a drifting bottle when Chinching was asleep. After that, Chinching would check every morning to see if there were any prompts. But today, when he looked at it, Chinching was slightly stunned because there was a prompt flashing in the system at this time. Ding! You have a new drifting bottle. Please check it. System, check it. Open it. Ding! The drifting bottle has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the upper-level light elf. As the system finished speaking, a ray of light appeared in front of Chinching, turning into mini elves that were only the size of Chinching's palm and covered with light feathers. There were 6 wings of light flapping on the back of the little girl, just like the elves in the previous life. After the little girl appeared, she floated quietly in front of Chinching, with a pair of blue eyes flashing a faint light and looking at Chinching, motionless, silent, as if observing Chinching. Looking at the elf in front of him, Chinching was slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, this time he actually obtained a living being, and it was a mini elf in the novels of the previous life. Then, Chinching read the system's annotations on this elf. Upper Light Elf, a newly born upper elemental elf with light attribute, possessing light attribute magic. Its current strength is comparable to the LV6 adventurer of this world. When it grows to its limit, it is comparable to the LV10 adventurer of this world. It has a long growth cycle and can be fed with various powerful light attribute items to assist its growth. It has a unique elf space and can usually sleep in the elf space. It can possess anyone or any object. The host can summon it at any time to possess and borrow its power. After reading the introduction of the system, Chinching opened his mouth slightly. I didn't expect this little guy to be so strong. It was just born, and its strength was comparable to that of the LV6 adventurer of this world. Moreover, when it grows up, its strength can reach the level of LV10. You can't judge a person by his appearance. Little guy, do you have a name? Looking at the elf in front of him, Chinching reached out and touched it lightly on the head and then asked softly. The elf tilted its head and then shook its head. Although he didn't speak, Chinching could understand what he meant. No. Then you'll be called Xiaowang. Chinching poked the little guy's face with his finger and softly decided the name of the newborn elf. The elf was amused by Chinching's finger and laughed, his face full of smiles. After playing with the elf for a while, Chinching thought about the help the elf could give him. The introduction to the system is only these, but in fact a lot of confidence has been passed into Chinching's mind, which makes Chinching have a deep understanding of the elf. He can let the elf possess himself and instantly have the strength of an LV6 light magician, but only for 1 hour. Once an hour is up, even if Chinching does not want to remove the possession, the elf will take the initiative to exit the possession state. Because the possession is too long, both parties are in danger, and Chinching will be assimilated into the element of light by the elf. And in this 1 hour, Chunxing can almost be said to have unlimited magic power. As long as there is light in the place where Chunxing is, Chunxing's magic power is unlimited, and he can use light magic at any time without any burden. Very powerful ability. In addition, there is summoning. Because of the contract, Morningstar can summon the elf to his side at will. No matter where the elf is, as long as Morningstar has a thought, he can summon the elf to his side through the contract across space. It is completely available at any time. In addition, the elf also has the ability to split into thousands and can split into countless clones. It will only reduce the strength. The more clones there are, the weaker the strength of the main body and the clones will be. The clones have the ability to locate each other, and the main body can go to any clone at will. Morningstar does not need the help of the elf again now. Even if he needs the help of the elf, Morningstar can summon it at any time. Therefore, Morningstar has made a decision about the whereabouts of the elf. That is, let the elf possess Hestia's hair ornaments to protect Hestia. If you want to say who Morningstar is most worried about in Oreo, it is Hestia, and everyone else has to step back. Because after yesterday's date, the two have become a tacitly understood couple. Morningstar is naturally very concerned about his lover. After Hestia went to the lower world, her divine power was sealed, and she was powerless. Once she encountered danger, she had no resistance. So Morningstar needed to protect Hestia's safety. And now, the appearance of Xiaowang just relieved Morningstar's urgent need. With Xiaowang attached to Hestia's hair accessories, the strength of LV6, and infinite magic power, who can hurt Hestia through Xiaowang. Xiaowang, later you go to his sister, attach yourself to the sister, and take care of that sister for me, okay? Looking at Xiaowang holding his finger, Morningstar said with a smile. Hearing this, Xiaowang nodded repeatedly, without any hesitation, and directly took over the task of Morningstar. Well, then I'll leave it to you. Morningstar gently poked his little face and thanked him softly. Xiaowang's face suddenly bloomed with a bright smile, as if he was happy that he could help his master. Chapter 54. Aegina's jaw drops. Morningstar keeps her promise after leaving the library. Chunxing went directly to the guild headquarters to find Aegina. When he separated from Aegina yesterday, Chunxing promised Aegina that he would go to the guild to register for the upgrade today and tell Aegina about his adventure experience. Chunxing was not going to hide it. The main reason was that he was witnessed by the people of Loki's family when he encountered the monster feast before. So it is easy to be exposed if you make up adventure experiences. You make up some false intelligence information for the guild, but many of the assistants that can be enjoyed in the guild may not be available in the future. For things like consultants, the guild will not provide you with convenience. Moreover, Chunxing is not worried about his information being exposed, because even if the people in the guild know about his adventure experience, they will not tell it out. Will they tell other adventurers and let them fight against the Minotaur alone, or even surround the Minotaur group alone? It's incredible to think about it. As long as it can indirectly improve the level of adventurers, the guild will disclose information within the scope that will not affect each family. This is to increase the rate of collecting magic stones that can bring huge benefits. As the level of adventurers improves, the number of sacrifices will naturally decrease. It is the duty of many adventurer consultants to ask about the adventure experiences of upgraded adventurers without invading their privacy. But in the case of Morningstar, how can this be sharing information with other adventurers and increasing the channels for other adventurers to become stronger? This is clearly asking other adventurers to die. The protagonist Bell in the original book only fought a Minotaur alone and then upgraded. After reporting his situation, he gave the senior staff of the guild a headache. Claiming that such information must never be leaked is completely sending people to die. And Morningstar's experience is even more explosive than that of the protagonist Bell in the original book. A LV1 newcomer destroyed the monster feast of the Minotaur tribe. Can you believe this? Anyone who knows will be shocked. At least, Aina was shocked. She knew that Morningstar was very strong, because Morningstar's magic could kill so many monsters in an instant, and the power of magic was far beyond the LV1 level. But she didn't expect that Morningstar's strength was so terrifying that it could not only kill the Minotaur, but also kill the Minotaur's monster feast. Even though Aegina was an ordinaryite, after hearing such news, she had some guesses about Morning Star's strength. Morning Star's strength definitely exceeded LV1 and even exceeded LV2 to reach LV3. The people of Loki's family can confirm this. When I was dealing with the monster feast, Finn and his family from Loki's family happened to come back from the expedition and encountered it. They witnessed it all. If you don't believe it, you can go to them to verify it. Looking at Aegina with her mouth slightly open, Morning Star said again. The brave men, hearing this, Aegina understood that what Morning Star said was almost true. Because if it was false, she would be exposed immediately when she asked this question. Aina didn't think that the people of Loki's family would help Qinsheng cover up. It would not be good for Loki's family. I understand. I will pass all this information up, and the senior staff of the guild will make the decision. Aina took a deep breath, then looked at Qinsheng with a serious expression and said, Yeah. Qinsheng nodded. It's hard to imagine that your talent potential is so terrible. The upgrade speed alone is so amazing. I didn't expect your strength to be so terrible. Your grace improvement speed is more than 10 times that of the current fastest record holder Sword Princess AIC. I didn't expect that not only the improvement speed, but also the strength is so exaggerated. Once it is leaked, it will definitely cause an uproar. Although I don't think the senior staff will leak your information. Aina put away her serious look, smiled gently, and looked at Qinsheng. She was happy for Qinsheng's changes. The stronger Qinsheng's talent and strength, the more beneficial it is for Qinsheng. Because Qinsheng can grow up quickly and will not die. She was responsible for so many new adventurers, but none of them could grow up. From the beginning, she didn't want Qinsheng to repeat the mistakes of the new adventurers she was responsible for before. Well, even if my adventure experience is not leaked, the upgrade speed is enough to cause an uproar. I just confirmed that after tomorrow, the eyes of the gods of the entire Oreo will fall on me. Qinsheng smiled and said, Yes, the gods like to see these amazing things the most. Your situation is so special that it will definitely attract the attention of many gods. But don't worry, although the gods like special things, they will not affect you. Aegina nodded with a smile and said, However, the next moment, Aegina seemed to think of something. Your grace has increased so quickly, and you have entered the middle level so early, and the gains must be very high. So, you came to the guild to exchange for Valis before and concealed your situation. Morning Star, Aegina said, her face gradually became unhappy. I'm afraid you'll worry. Aina, you're very responsible for me. I don't want you to worry too much about me. After all, with my experience, if I let you know early, I'm afraid your heart can't stand it. After hearing what Aina said, Qinsheng instantly understood what Aina was talking about. It was nothing more than saying that he concealed his income, which made her spend some of savings. This made Qinsheng a little embarrassed, and he explained with a laugh. Forget it, it's okay. But, Qinsheng, you really didn't take my words into account at all. Aina looked at Qinsheng for a long time, and finally sighed and said helplessly, No, I didn't. I always keep your words in mind, Aina. Adventurers must not take risks. I have always kept this sentence in mind and have always acted according to your words. Qinsheng heard this and shook his head repeatedly. His expression became serious. Looking at Aina, he said in a firm tone. Aina was slightly startled by Qinsheng's serious reaction. It seems to be true. Although Qinsheng deceived himself, Qinsheng really didn't seem to take risks. Every time I saw him, Qinsheng only had some superficial injuries and never was seriously injured. What does this mean? It means that Qinsheng has never been in danger, and it means that Qinsheng has never taken risks. Thinking of this, Aina's heart warmed slightly. Thank you, Qinsheng. It seems that only you really take my words to heart and act according to my instructions. Looking at Qinsheng in front of her, Aina's heart trembled slightly, and an unknown emotion officially sprouted at this moment, and the speed of her heartbeat accelerated. Chapter 55, Consulting Hyde. Finn's affirmation after Qinsheng told Aegina about his situation. He chatted with Aegina for a few words and continued to work without disturbing Aegina. Now Aegina also knows that Qinsheng's talent and potential are very strong. In the future, Chinching can openly ask Aegina for information on each floor without having to hide it as before. After separating from Chinching, Aegina immediately reported Chinching's adventure information to her superior. In the office, Aegina's boss's reaction was not unexpected. After seeing the consulting materials she submitted, her boss, the team leader, was stunned. The office was unusually low-key. After a long while, Aegina's team leader slowly spoke. It's really a big deal. If that's the case, then this information must not be made public. No one can grow according to Morningstar's growth path. However, Aegina, I'll give you a task. Go and confirm this information with Loki's family. From the time he became an adventurer, he fought all the way from the first floor to the 17th floor. Half of the time, he was in the middle floor, killed thousands of Minotaur, and once encountered a Minotaur monster feast. Is this something a new adventurer can do? This is simply a monster. If this kind of information is leaked and adventurers are asked to grow according to this growth path, isn't it telling adventurers to go and die? Once Morningstar's activity record is announced to adventurers as a condition for short-term upgrades, adventurers will definitely curse him. There will definitely be curses like, "Does your guild treat us as idiots?" Yes, team leader. Aegina had already known the team leader's instructions, so she didn't find it strange. After saying that, Aegina was ready to leave. However, before she walked out of the office, Aegina was stopped by the team leader. Aegina turned around and looked at the team leader in confusion. Don't tell anyone about Morningstar's information. No one could tell it. This is for the good of Morningstar. Do you understand? The team leader said seriously. If Morningstar just defeated a Minotaur across levels, this is a bit exaggerated, but it is acceptable after all, whether it is an adventurer or a god. But Morningstar's situation is obviously too exaggerated. If it is spread out, it will definitely do more harm than good to Morningstar. As for the Loki family, he will pass this information to the guild leader later and let the guild leader deal with it. But on Aegina's side, he can give some instructions. I understand. Team leader, I won't leak it. Hearing the team leader's words, Aegina nodded solemnly. She would naturally not harm Morningstar. Even if the team leader did not remind her, Aina would not leak this matter. Well, go and find Loki's family to confirm it. Come back as soon as possible. The team leader nodded and said, when Aina brings back the confirmed information, he will report this matter. Yes, team leader, I will come back as soon as possible. Aina seemed to hear the team leader's urgency and promised very seriously. Well, go. The team leader nodded and then waved to Aina. Aegina nodded, turned around, and quickly left the office in one go. After Aegina left, the team leader looked at the information in his hand, and the whole person fell into a trance, muttering constantly. Too exaggerated. On the other side, Aegina quickly left the guild after leaving the team leader's office and rushed to the direction of the Twilight Pavilion. When she arrived at the Twilight Pavilion, Aegina's identity as a guild employee was directly let in by the guards. Sitting in the reception room of the Twilight Pavilion, Aegina looked at the red tea in front of her, and the whole person was slightly absent-minded. I don't know how long it has been. The sound of the door opening woke Aegina from her trance. Aegina looked up and saw Finn and Lavilia walking in from the door. Ah, Miss Aegina, long time no see. Finn came in and waved to Aegina. Aegina, what happened? For what the guard said, you seem to be very anxious. Lavilia asked Aegina. Mr. Finn, Lord Lavilia, there's an urgent matter that needs to be confirmed by Mr. Finn. Aegina nodded, called respectfully, and then directly told her purpose. What is it? Finn asked curiously. It's about Morningstar. Aegina replied truthfully. Is it the compatriot you mentioned before who destroyed the monster feast by himself? Lavilia was a little surprised when she heard it and confirmed it to Finn. Well, it was Morningstar who destroyed the monster feast. I wonder what happened to Mr. Morningstar? Finn first answered Lavilia's question, then looked at Aegina and asked Aegina back. Morningstar has upgraded. I came to ask Mr. Finn to verify the truth of Morningstar's destruction of the monster feast. Aegina nodded and said her purpose without hesitation. Hey, Mr. Morningstar has upgraded. That's really a cause for celebration. However, with Mr. Morningstar's top LV2 strength, destroying the monster feast of the Minotaur group, is not something that cannot be accepted, right? Why did you come to me for verification? Hearing that Morningstar had upgraded, Finn was stunned at first, then congratulated Morningstar, and then asked Aegina in return. So this is true? Hearing Finn's words, Aegina's eyes widened and confirmed with Finn again. Well, I and S saw it with our own eyes. What? Is there something wrong? Finn nodded and confirmed with a smile. No, nothing. Thank you very much, Mr. Finn. I have something to do, so I'll go back first. Lord Lavilia, Aegina will take my leave first. Aegina shook her head repeatedly, then stood up and said goodbye, thanked Finn and Lavilia respectfully, and then walked out of the room quickly. This child shouldn't be so impatient. What happened? Seeing Aegina's reaction, Lavilia frowned slightly. Ah, Miss Aegina has always been very stable. Finn nodded in agreement, but then narrowed his eyes. My intuition tells me that something extraordinary is about to happen. Chapter 56. Uranus after leaving the Twilight Pavilion, Aegina rushed back to the guild as quickly as possible and reported the information she had obtained from her visit to the Twilight Pavilion to the team leader. I see, you go to work. After listening to Aegina's report, the team leader was silent for a long time, then sighed and waved Aegina to continue working. Yes, team leader. Aegina responded and then left the room. Not long after Aegina left the office, the team leader also left the office and walked towards the depths of the guild, and soon came to the outside of a room. After knocking on the door outside and hearing the sound coming from inside, the team leader walked in. This room is the room of the guild leader, the Guild Pig Royman. The Guild Pig Royman is a male elf over 300 years old. Because of his big belly, he is nicknamed the Guild Pig. When Royman was about 150 years old, he came to Orio and joined the guild. It has been more than 150 years since then. For more than 150 years, Royman climbed up the guild step by step and eventually became the guild president. Royman was also a person that the guild god Uranus trusted very much. At this time, he was sitting behind a desk, diligently reviewing documents. After the team leader came in, Royman did not look up and continued to work on the documents, but only took the time to speak. What's the matter? President, you need to see these materials. The team leader put the materials prepared by Aina in front of Royman and said in a serious tone. Perhaps because the team leader's tone was very serious, Royman stopped the work at hand, picked up the materials, and began to read them. After a few seconds, Royman's pupils suddenly contracted. Are these all true? Royman suddenly raised his head, looked at the team leader, and asked sternly. Yes, President. To ensure the truth, I have just sent Morningstar's adventurer consultant Aina to the Dust Pavilion to confirm it. The answer of the brave Finn is indeed so. The team leader nodded and replied seriously. After listening to the team leader's answer, Royman did not answer for a long time. After a long time, Royman calmed down. I know. I will handle this matter. You go down. Yes, President. The team leader responded and then left. Royman, who was silent for a while looking at the information in his hand in the office, stood up quickly, left the office, and walked deeper into the guild. That was the passage leading to the underground altar of the guild. This matter was not something he could decide at will. He needed to inform the god Uranus of this matter. Only the god Uranus could call the main god Loki to come and discuss things. As for him, at most he could only call the representatives of each clan, and sometimes the clans didn't even want to pay attention to him. Not long after, Royman reached the end of the passage and entered another passage. The passage was dark, with almost no light, but Royman was not afraid at all and walked out quickly as if it was daytime. Buzz! After reaching the end, Royman stretched out his hand and pressed on the wall to push it open. What caught Royman's eyes was a dim light, followed by a tall altar. On the altar, a strong old god was sitting quietly on the throne. Royman, what's the matter? An old but strong voice came from the high platform. On the altar, the expression of the god Uranus did not change at all, and his expression was indifferent. God Uranus, there is something that needs your decision. Royman shouted respectfully. What's the matter? Royman did not hesitate and immediately told the situation to Morningstar, and also talked about the situation that the Loki family might know about Morningstar. After listening to Royman's answer, even Uranus, who was as calm as he was, his pupils flickered slightly at this time, and he was very surprised in his heart. No matter which of the two situations on Morningstar, Uranus would not be so surprised. If Morningstar had only broken the upgrade record, and it was more than 10 times higher than the previous record, Uranus would be a little surprised at most. But Morningstar was able to leapfrog one or even two major levels while breaking the record, which made him unable to ignore it. Being able to destroy the monster feast of the Minotaur group by himself, Morningstar's strength had obviously reached level 3. With a lightning-fast upgrade speed and the ability to fight across 2 levels like the monster in the Heroth family, Morningstar is definitely a monster that has never been seen before and will never be seen again. If nothing unexpected happens, Morningstar will definitely rise rapidly in a short period of time. This is a seedling that he absolutely cannot ignore. Uranus also reacted instantly to Royman's purpose in coming to him this time. Royman wanted to conceal Morningstar's situation and create a strong growth environment for Morningstar. If Morningstar's situation was leaked, the dark faction hidden in the dark would never allow Morningstar to grow up, and it is estimated that they would use any means to attack Morningstar. This matter must not be told to any god or adventurer. And now, the people of Loki's family know it. Royman, invite Loki to come in my name, Uranus said after a long silence. Yes, thank you for your kindness, God Uranus. Hearing Uranus' words, Royman hurriedly bowed and responded respectfully. Then, I will take my leave now. Royman roared and quickly left here. After Royman left, the underground altar space fell into silence again. After a while, Uranus suddenly spoke. Fells, what do you think of this elf boy named Morningstar? As soon as these words came out, a tall figure in a black robe slowly walked out from the darkness on the left side of the altar. If nothing goes wrong, she can grow into another Silent Witch. I just hope she won't be envied by the gods like the Silent Witch. I hope so. Fears. Have you heard of the name Lucifer? No. Chapter 57. Going around in circles, customizing weapons. What happened in the guild? Morningstar didn't know. Morningstar was meeting a very special person in the library at this time. Hestia brought Belle over. With short white hair, she looked slightly different from Belle, the protagonist of the original book, but she looked like another person. The Silent Witch, Althea, the Silent Witch of the Heroth Familia. Belle looked half the same as Althea, the Silent Witch. Morningstar, she is Belle, my first member of the clan. I'll trouble you to guide her fighting skills in the future, Hestia said with one hand on her waist, smiling. Mr. Morningstar, I'm Belle Crane. Please give me more guidance in the future, Mr. Morningstar. Belle looked at Morningstar carefully and said in a very nervous tone. The tone alone showed that this little girl had a 933 personality and she was very timid. Just call me Morningstar. Don't be so reserved. Come here at night. I'll teach you combat skills and experience. Morningstar gently comforted with a smile. I don't know how this guy with such a cowardly character thought of becoming an adventurer. The protagonist Belle in the original book came to Orio to become an adventurer because he wanted to meet a beautiful girl in Orio, and becoming stronger was only secondary. What is the dream of this girl in Orio? Is it to meet a beautiful boy? Morningstar thought with interest. Yes, Lord Morningstar. Belle responded after hearing this. Okay, it's directly upgraded from a gentleman to an adult. Morningstar didn't seem to be entangled in this matter. After nodding, he looked at Hestia. The family should have registered, right? Yes, I took her to register in the morning and came back after the registration. Hestia smiled and nodded. Have you found the adventurer consultant? Morningstar continued to ask. Yes, I found it too. It's your adventurer consultant, Aina. Hestia nodded and grinned, her big white teeth gleaming, looking very proud. Morningstar didn't expect that after all the twists and turns, even if Belle was feminized, Aegina would still be Belle's adventurer consultant. As for the fact that one adventurer consultant was responsible for several new adventurers, Morningstar was not surprised. This was very normal. Take Belle to pick out a better set of equipment. Morningstar took out his passbook from his pocket and handed it to Hestia, smiling, and said, after yesterday's date, although the two did not formally confess, they had already understood each other. And since Belle is Hestia's family, Morningstar will take care of her. But Morningstar will not go with them. Let Hestia take Belle to buy it herself, and it can also improve the relationship between the family's main god and members. Thank you very much. Belle will pay you back when she makes money in the future. Hestia took it without hesitation and thanked him with a smile. Thank you very much, Lord Morningstar. Although Belle felt that this was a bit inappropriate, she couldn't say anything since her Lord God had taken it. So she thanked Morningstar directly. Well, go ahead. Hestia took Belle to buy equipment and supplies for the adventure. Morningstar also left the library and went to the Hephaestus clan base to find Chun. Since he had upgraded, he needed to change his weapon. Morningstar was going to change to a second-level weapon. It just so happened that a piece of bone fell off when he killed Goliath before, which was just right for forging a second-level weapon. Chun was Morningstar's exclusive forger, so Morningstar naturally had to go to her. Morningstar was going to let Chun forge an immortal weapon that could be continuously upgraded for him. As for whether such a weapon could be forged successfully, Morningstar didn't know whether he needed to talk to Chun. It didn't take much time for Morningstar to arrive at the Hephaestus clan base, because Morningstar had come here many times in the past few days, and Chun had also taken special care of him. When Morningstar came here, the guards didn't even stop him and let him in directly. After walking around in the huge castle for a long time, Chinching asked the members of Hephaestus's family and confirmed where Chun was, and then he came to Chun's forging workshop. Oh, Chinching, I haven't seen you for a few days. Are you here to maintain your weapons again? When Chinching came over, Chun was not forging, but was polishing a piece of metal, or Chun immediately noticed Chinching's arrival. When he looked up and saw that it was Chinching, Chun smiled brightly and waved at Chinching and said hello. Hey, and I came to you to forge weapons. Chinching also waved and said hello with a smile. As soon as these words came out, Chun's eyes lit up, the movements in his hands stopped, and the whole person appeared in front of Chinching in an instant. You kid, I have been your exclusive forger for 10 days, and you finally asked me to forge equipment. Chun said excitedly. Tell me, what kind of equipment do you want to make? Nowadays, there are various types of equipment in Oreo. I will make them at the next level. Chun said excitedly. I want to make a second-level immortal attribute longsword, which can be upgraded by further forging. The main material is this. Can you do it? Chinching handed over the bone of Goliath that he had been holding for a long time, and then expressed his request. Is an immortal weapon that can be upgraded? No problem. But where did you buy this bone? This thing is at least a material dropped by a monster of level IV.4. It is more than enough to forge a second-level weapon. Chun agreed to Chinching's request without thinking, because she had forged several weapons that could be upgraded through subsequent forging, and she could do it. But she was more interested in the bone in Chinching's hand because she had never seen it. Well, don't ask, Chinching said with a smile. Chinching didn't intend to tell about Goliath's 5.7 incident, and there was no Goliath-related thing in the adventure experience he gave to the guild. Okay, no questions, give me 2 days. 2 days will do. But are you sure you don't need defensive equipment? Chun nodded and didn't ask any more questions, but asked about Morningstar's defensive equipment. Defensive equipment is not needed. This set is good enough now. You are really weird. Haha, really? By the way, if Morningstar gets some special metal materials or drop materials that can be used to forge weapons in the future, come to me first. I will give you an absolutely cost-effective price. Chun said without looking back while walking towards the forge with the Goliath bone, as if chatting with a friend. Well, okay. Chapter 58. Loki's plan, and Loki's family members all agree at night. In the Twilight Pavilion, Loki returned to the Twilight Pavilion from a guild. He sat on the sofa in the hall with a frown on his face. It was unknown what he was thinking. The whole hall was very quiet. But soon, this silence was broken. Loki, what do you want to talk to us about? Finn's voice sounded in the hall. Loki looked up and saw Finn walking towards this side with a group of people. Almost all the high-level members of Loki's family were here. Even the elf Lafia was here. You're all here, sit down. Seeing Finn and his friends coming, Loki greeted them happily. Hearing this, Finn and his friends did not hesitate and directly found a seat and sat down. But some people were very independent. Bert did not sit down, but stood behind the sofa where Finn was sitting with his hands in his pockets. Deanna also stood behind Lavilia. "Hey Finn, Ace, tell me everything you saw about Morningstar." After everyone was in their respective positions, Loki excitedly asked Finn about the situation when Finn and others first met Morningstar. Although Finn and others mentioned it before, they didn't say much after all. Later, Loki learned about it again from Ace and learned more. But now, Loki wants to hear the scene of Finn and others meeting Morningstar again. There is no way. The news just heard at the underground altar of the guild is too shocking. Now she has a very strong interest in Morningstar. What happened? Loki, you actually care so much about Brother Morningstar. I heard from Ace that you have asked Ace once before. Are you trying to poach people? Deanna looked at Loki strangely and asked curiously. What happened? Finn also noticed something was wrong and asked. Everyone's eyes fell on Loki. They are preparing to poach people, Loki announced with a big roll of his eyes. She was called over by Uranus just now and heard about Morningstar there. She was shocked to know that Morningstar was only 4.1 before it was upgraded, because she heard from her family members that Morningstar destroyed the Minotaur's monster feast alone a few days ago. That strength is definitely at the IV.3 level. However, Finn and others said that Morningstar's favor should be at the level of IV.2 on the verge of upgrading, and the ability value is at least A to S level. Later, during the Monster Festival, Morningstar actually killed the new type of carnivorous plant monster that was difficult for Deanna and Dion to kill without weapons. Later, Lafia said that the magic power of the star was close to 0.5. At that time, Loki thought that Morningstar should have accumulated enough merit points to upgrade after the Monster Feast. During the Monster Festival, he should have reached IV.3, and he had a powerful skill that killed new monsters in seconds. In terms of magic, he was as talented as Lafia, and his magic firepower could jump over a level. IV.3 had IV.4 and close to LV5 magic firepower, which was weaker than Lafia. After all, Lafia had LV5 magic firepower at IV.3. Facts proved that what Aegina said before she left told her that her guess was correct, and Morningstar had indeed upgraded. But now, Uranus told her that Morningstar was only IV.1 before, and now it was only IV.2 after upgrading. And this was not over yet. Morningstar had only been an adventurer for less than a month. In an instant, Loki understood the value of Morningstar. He also knew why Uranus called him over, which was nothing more than asking him not to reveal the secret. Loki agreed with Uranus's approach. She hadn't thought of leaking the information about Morningstar. However, she had another idea. That was to poach Morningstar from the unknown Lucifer. Freya could poach other people, so why couldn't Loki do that? So as soon as she came back, she immediately called Finn and others to see if she could get more detailed information about Morningstar from Finn and others. Loki, are you kidding? Hearing Loki's words, Finn frowned immediately. The Loki clan had never done such a thing as poaching. Although many people converted from other clans, they were all voluntary. The situations of Tioni, Tiona, and Bert were special, but the three of them were also voluntary. Loki had never done such a thing as poaching, but now Loki told them openly that she was going to start poaching. Others also looked at Loki in surprise. What do you know? You will be shocked if you know the resume of this kid Morningstar. Since the establishment of Oreo, Morningstar is definitely the most evil existence. I will definitely get that guy. Loki's expression became serious, and he said seriously, Loki, although Brother Morningstar can fight beyond his level, there is no need to be so exaggerated. Tioni crossed his arms and frowned. The others also wanted to say something, but they were interrupted by Loki. Wait, I know what you want to say. Let me tell you about Morningstar. As soon as these words came out, everyone who wanted to speak immediately listened. Morningstar is a native of Oreo and has lived in Oreo since he was a child. Half a month ago, he suddenly received the grace of God from a god named Lucifer and became an adventurer. Wait, what did you say? Brother Morningstar received the favor half a month ago. Loki was interrupted as soon as he finished speaking. Deanna blurted out, and the others were also shocked. Listen to me. Don't interrupt me. Loki looked at Diana and frowned slightly. No, don't say it. Loki, I understand what you mean. At this time, Finn also spoke. His expression was very solemn. Ah, don't say it. The situation is already very clear. Loki, I support you to poach people. If possible, please be sure to poach the compatriot named Morningstar. Lavilia also spoke up. It's incredible. He just received the favor half a month ago, and he has already upgraded from 4.1 to 4.2 in half a month. Moreover, he already had the combat power comparable to V.3 at V.1. Now that the guy named Morningstar has upgraded from 4.1 to 4.2, how much stronger will his strength become? Moreover, if his speed of strengthening has not slowed down, it will only take half a year for him to stand in the same position as us. Grace took a deep breath, then he spoke in a calm tone. The three giants of Loki's clan understood why Loki wanted to dig up Morningstar the moment Loki said that Morningstar received the favor half a month ago. Because this is a monster, an extremely terrifying monster. Anyone who knows the situation of Morningstar will want to pull such a terrifying monster into his clan. At this time, after hearing the words of the three people, Shi Yin and Qiu Dao, they realized it belatedly. Yes, Brother Morningstar became an adventurer half a month ago. So even if Brother Morningstar upgraded, he was only IV.2. Before that, Brother Morningstar was only 4.1, and IV.1 could destroy the monster feast of the Minotaur group. Brother Morningstar is really scary. Loki, I agree with your proposal. Diana became more and more excited as she spoke, and finally raised her hands to agree with Loki's idea. She was already very surprised that Morningstar used the strength of IV.2 to destroy the monster feast. Now she was even more shocked to hear about Morningstar's situation. It's not just a monster feast. Have you forgotten the monster festival? Brother Morningstar should have just upgraded at that time, but his skill instantly killed the new type of piranha monster that only IV.4 melee adventurers with weapons could kill. Moreover, Lafiya said that Brother Morningstar's magic firepower is close to LV5. That is to say, Morningstar's skills in magic have the power of IV.4. For point 2 has such terrible strength. It's unbelievable that there is such a terrifying monster. Dion was a little absent-minded and murmured in a low voice. Even Scarlet Flower can't compare to it. AIC thought of a long-dead adventurer and murmured in a low voice. TSK, I have to admit that guy is a monster. Even Bert, who is so arrogant, did not say it stubbornly at this moment, and agreed to admit the monster level of Morningstar. No wonder Mr. Morningstar has such powerful magic. Lafiya also murmured in a low voice at this time. Right, such a monster exists. We must fight against it. Loki nodded repeatedly. Well, we should indeed try to fight for it. Finn nodded in agreement, and the others also nodded, and no one objected. The reactions of everyone seemed exaggerated, but in fact they were not exaggerated at all. Morningstar's magic talent may be similar to Lafiya's, but don't forget that Morningstar could be considered a magic swordsman, and Morningstar's upgrade speed is so terrifying. All these things added together, Lafiya can't compare with Morningstar at all. However, there is one thing that is the most troublesome now. Looking at the reactions of Finn and others, Loki was very satisfied. But the next moment, Panji frowned. What's the matter? Everyone was a little confused. Morningstar's main god Lucifer is a dragon that can't be seen from head to tail. I don't know if there's such a saying in this world. Just pretend it is, otherwise many things can't be described in this way. Except for taking Morningstar to the guild to establish a clan at the beginning, no one else has seen him. I want to poach people, and I also need to find that Lucifer. Otherwise, nothing can be discussed. Loki spoke out his worries. This is also the reason why she had been frowning here before Finn and others came. Because she didn't have any clues about Lucifer. It is said the guy likes to go around everywhere, and Lucifer can hardly see him. Isn't this very simple? In a few days, it will be the Gods' Conference once every March. Mr. Morningstar will upgrade at this time, and he must get a title. Then he can see the god named Lucifer. Hearing Loki's worries, Finn smiled slightly and said, Yes, the God Conference will be held in a few days, and the god of the Morningstar Kid will definitely be there, and he can see him then. After hearing Finn's words, Loki clapped his hands together excitedly. Well, but let's send someone out to look for him these days. Finn nodded and said, Yeah, that's right. By the way, you have the opportunity to communicate more with the Morningstar kid and strengthen your relationship. Loki nodded, then looked at everyone and warned them. This can't be done. We don't know where Brother Morningstar lives. We can only rely on luck. Deanna scratched her head awkwardly and said, She really wants to contact Morningstar now, because Morningstar said that everything he showed was very attractive to her, and she was very interested in the existence of Morningstar. However, she didn't know where Morningstar lived at all. Not only Deanna had this idea, but everyone present was the same, and they were all very interested in Morningstar. Don't worry, I have found the place where the boy lives from the guild. Faced with this question, Loki waved his hand and said with a smile, Where? A very old library on West Street. Chapter 59, Hestia's Worry and Naked Malice. Where did Bert go? On the street, Deanna and her group of four were walking leisurely. Deanna put her hands on the back of her head and said in confusion, The information we got yesterday was too exciting. That guy went to the dungeon early in the morning. Dion shrugged and said lightly, we were also stimulated, but we didn't go to the dungeon event. Dion was a little surprised. The guy who was most stimulated by this incident didn't go to the dungeon. This guy's more excited than AC. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. Dion curled her lips and said, then looked at AC, who looked calm on the side. Ahaha, I think Asin's the most excited now, but we're going to find Mr. Morningstar now, so Asin is so calm. Listening to the conversation between the two, Lafia laughed dryly and expressed her opinion. That's true. Nyona and Dion both agreed with Lafia's words. Although AC didn't show it, after leaving the hall last night, Deanna and others could see that AC's heart was very uneasy. AC, who used to not care about anything, was ready to go out early this morning to find the library where Morningstar lived on West Street. If they hadn't been sharp-eyed, AC would have come here alone. Fortunately, they saw it in time and followed along. AC didn't care about the conversation between the few people, and her heart was already filled with the figure of Morningstar at this time. AC really wanted to know how Morningstar could upgrade so quickly and fight across 2 levels. She wanted to understand Morningstar, and if she wanted to understand Morningstar, the best choice was naturally to get close to Morningstar. In addition, Loki also reminded them last night to communicate more with Morningstar if they had the chance. So she came here. It's a pity that they didn't come at the right time, because Morningstar was not in the library. After they found out where Morningstar's library was, and when they came here, they saw Hestia. Are you guys from Loki's family? Hestia was surprised to see Dion and the others, because they had just met the day before yesterday and had shared hardships together. Hestia remembered Dion and the others very well. However, she was surprised to see a few of them again in the past 2 days. Moreover, judging from the appearance of the few people, they seemed to have come here specifically, not just passing by chance. Hestia, Dion, and the others were a little surprised to see Hestia. Dion called out Hestia's name directly. Dion was not someone who would use honorifics to address gods, and she would just call out their names directly. Why are you here? Hestia nodded and asked, Come to see Brother Morningstar? Speaking of which, Hestia, why are you here? Dion replied, and asked Hestia why she was here. I work here, Hestia said with a smile, but she didn't mention that she and Morningstar were partners. The reason why I said this before, and the reason why I said it 2 days ago, was that I was too happy, so I wanted to show off. I happened to meet Loki and thought of Loki's skinny figure and the fact that he didn't have a partner, so I wanted to PS him off. But not only did she not PS Loki off, she was completely ignored by Loki, and instead quarreled with Loki for inexplicable reasons. She didn't want to talk about this matter now. It was meaningless. We are here to find Brother Morningstar. Is Brother Morningstar here? Tioni heard this, nodded in understanding, and then directly said the purpose. That's really unfortunate. Morningstar went to the dungeon. Hearing that several people were here to find Morningstar, Hestia's heart immediately became alert, but she still told them what Morningstar was doing. Although she didn't like girls surrounding Morningstar, Hestia would not interfere with Morningstar's life. She believed that Morningstar would not let her down. Well, it seemed that these people were all very good. Morningstar, a pure boy who had just begun to fall in love, should not be tempted, right? For a moment, Hestia was a little unconfident. Diana and the others were all very beautiful, especially S, whose appearance could be compared with these goddesses. And she was a 3-0, which was called a plus point by the children in the lower world. Thinking of this, Hestia's eyes fell on S. "What's the matter?" Being stared at by Hestia, S felt a little uncomfortable and asked. "No, it's okay." Hestia, who was discovered, had to retract her gaze. "Say, since Brother Morningstar is not here, then we will go back first." "Goodbye, Hestia." Diana glanced at S and then at Hestia. She didn't know what was going on between the two, but she didn't think of asking. She waved to Hestia and said goodbye. Since Morningstar was not here, there was no point for them to stay here. "Let's go," Tione said to the other 3 people, then turned and walked outside. "Goodbye, Hestia." Diana waved to Hestia, then followed with her head held up. "Goodbye." Ace nodded slightly, then turned and walked outside. "Goodbye, Master Hestia." Among the few people, only Lafia maintained respect for the gods and said goodbye very politely before following. The people from the Loki family are definitely eyeing Morningstar. "No, I have to take down Morningstar as soon as possible." Walking to the door of the library, Hestia looked at the 4 people who left with laughter and chatter, and a strong feeling rose in her heart, which made Hestia very uneasy, and she couldn't help but feel anxious. "Let's take down Morningstar tonight." What Hestia didn't know was that when she was thinking about this in her heart, the 2 hair accessories tied with twin ponytails on her head flickered slightly. At this time, Hestia's hair accessories were hosting the upper-level light elves that Morningstar had obtained before. When Hestia came back last night, Morningstar had the little light god live in Hestia's hair accessories without anyone noticing. At this time, the 2 hair accessories were flashing with light, and something must have happened. However, except for the owner of Little Light, Morningstar, no one knew what this meant. Time went back to 3 hours ago. Starting from the evening of yesterday afternoon, Morningstar began to give Belle the first combat guidance. Early this morning, Morningstar was going to the dungeon and took her with him. Hestia didn't want Belle to delay Morningstar's time, so she didn't ask Morningstar to take Belle on an adventure. She asked Morningstar to take Belle to the first floor of the dungeon and let Belle act on her own. Morningstar had no objection to this. According to Hestia's instructions, after taking Belle to the first floor, she separated from her and then flew straight to the direction of Zhongkong in the 10th path of the Reincarnation I mode. Before the upgrade, Morningstar had already reached the 20th floor, and today Morningstar was going to the 21st floor. What Qinxing didn't know was that, during his journey, the guild had already posted the information about his upgrade on the bulletin board outside the guild headquarters. Therefore, the entire Oreo had already set off an uproar. Everyone was shocked by the information about Qinxing's upgrade. It was unimaginable that he could upgrade within half a month of becoming a new adventurer. You should know that before Qinxing's record appeared, the fastest upgrade record was Sword Princess AC. But Sword Princess AC also took more than a year to upgrade. Qinxing has now broken this record, and it is still a very violent one. The growth rate is more than 20 times faster than AC. This speed is completely a monster. Therefore, now all the adventurers in Oreo are discussing this matter. Even the gods are no exception. But Qinxing didn't know these. Qinxing flew for more than an hour and arrived at the 21st floor. The floors from the 19th to the 23rd floor are called the Big Tree Maze by adventurers. It is a plant world with lush vegetation, full of huge trees and jungles with intricate roots. Soon after Morningstar arrived at the 21st floor, he was warmly welcomed by the dungeon. One after another, the Firebirds were born in front of Morningstar and launched a fierce attack on Morningstar. Morningstar did not flinch at all. He fired a magic and then drew the long sword from his waist to counterattack. The deeper the floor, the stronger the monsters are. At least the Firebird is stronger than the Minotaur. Even if it is stronger than the Minotaur, it is still not enough for Morningstar. It is too easy. Morningstar is completely 1 sword per 1, and it has no training effect at all. It had some training effect before, but my strength increased too much after the upgrade. These Firebirds are completely a meal for me now. It seems that we need to go to a deeper floor. Let's go directly to the lower floor. After killing the last firebird, Morningstar frowned and muttered to himself. For other adventurers, even if they have upgraded, continuing the previous floor still has a training effect. However, the upgrade of Morningstar is a complete ascension, and the span is too large, so it is difficult for the monsters on these floors to keep up with the upgrade of Morningstar. After testing the strength of Flamebird again, Morningstar decisively chose to leave the middle floor and go to the lower floor. The strength of the lower floor is generally IV.3, which can train Morningstar. Although there are also IV.3 monsters in the middle floor, compared with the lower floor, the number of monsters born is very small. This is the law of monster birth on each floor. In the current situation of Morningstar, if you want to experience fierce battles and quickly improve your strength, you need to focus on IV.3 monsters. Monsters lower than IV.3 can be completely abandoned by Morningstar. However, just when Morningstar was about to act, his steps paused. Malice, Naked Malice. Chapter 60, Attack, Possession, Counterattack. Since becoming an adventurer, since coming to this world, Chinching felt such naked malice for the first time. Turning around slowly, Chinching looked forward. He saw a figure wearing a mask, wrapped up completely, without revealing a single bit of skin, standing there quietly. When Chinching saw this figure, he didn't have any impression in his mind for a while. However, the next second, Chinching felt an extremely strong sense of crisis. He saw the black shadow in front of him rushing towards Chinching at a very fast speed. Almost in an instant, it appeared in front of Chinching, and a short sword in his hand slashed at Chinching. Buzz! Almost subconsciously, Chinching instantly entered the reincarnation eye mode, and the seeking jade behind him quickly appeared in front of Chinching. Bang! The violent explosion instantly covered the position where Chinching was, and the area within a radius of dozens of meters was covered by white light. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 seconds later, 2 figures rushed out from the center of the explosion and flew in different directions. Bang! One of the figures flew out and then shot out like a cannonball. It didn't stop until it hit a huge tree root. Ahem, first level adventurer, LV6. A trace of blood flowed from his mouth. Chinching looked ahead solemnly and murmured in a low voice. Chinching was very sure that the person who attacked him just now was definitely a level 6, and he was also a leader among the level 6. Otherwise, it would be impossible to cause such serious damage to him. In the previous attack, he even used the Seeking Dao Jade and used all his strength, but he was still no match. The Seeking Dao Jade collided violently with an unknown force. The powerful annihilation force was blocked by this force, and then a powerful force followed the Seeking Dao Jade. It was transferred to himself. Morningstar has upgraded. Even without using the Samsara Eye mode, his strength is still at the top level of IV.3. After entering the Samsara Eye mode, Morningstar's strength has leapt a level and reached the limit of IV.4. However, even with such strength, he was still severely injured by this force. If Morningstar did not have the Holy Grail of the Netherworld, he would have been seriously injured and fell to the ground with that blow just now. Now he probably can't even move. This kind of power is definitely not something that IV.5 can do. It is definitely an adventurer of the level of IV.6, and is also a very powerful class among IV.6, and it may even be more powerful. On the other side, although another figure flew out, it was not as embarrassed as Morningstar. When it flew out, it was able to perform a back somersault, landed steadily on the ground. Who are you? The explosion dissipated, and Chinching and the masked attacker on the opposite side faced each other, and Chinching questioned the attacker. To be honest, with Chinching's personality, he would never do such meaningless things as questioning the enemy when he met someone who attacked him. The reason for doing this is just to buy himself some time. However, the person on the opposite side obviously didn't want to answer Chinching's question and waste time. As soon as Chinching finished speaking, the masked man disappeared again. Chinching's pupils shrank suddenly. The next second, the figure of the masked man appeared in front of Chinching, close at hand, and the dagger in his hand swung from left to right at Chinching, as if to cut Chinching's waist off. The speed was so fast that Chinching couldn't react at all. However, this time, Chinching was not panicked at all, but a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. This reaction of Qinxing was also noticed by the masked man. The attacker felt something was wrong at the first moment and stopped attacking and prepared to evacuate Qinxing. But the masked man was so fast, and his attack speed was so fast that he could not withdraw it at will. The next second, the masked man understood why Qinxing smiled. A large piece of light suddenly appeared on Qinxing's body, completely covering Qinxing's body. Her attack hit Qinxing's body, but was completely blocked by the disc. Then, a terrifying force swept over along with the weapon in his hand and suddenly broke out. In an instant, the masked man was hit hard and the whole person shot out, and the sonic boom cloud emerged. Bang! With a violent explosion, the masked man smashed directly into a big tree, breaking the tree in half, and then continued to shoot behind him. After destroying 3 big trees with overwhelming force, the masked man finally stopped. What a terrifying power! What is this? Half squatting on the ground, the masked man looked at the chaotic front and murmured in a low voice. Under the mask, a stream of blood slowly flowed out of his mouth. Just now, without any defense, he was hit so hard that the masked man's body was severely injured, and her internal organs were directly displaced. Fortunately, I got Xiaowang last night, otherwise I would have died here today. It's time to use up one of the lives of the Holy Grail of the underworld. On the other side, Qinxing was full of luck at this time and murmured in his heart. Just now, after being attacked by the masked man and finding that the masked man's strength was as high as IV.6, and he was also the best among IV.6, Qinxing summoned Xiaowang immediately and let Xiaowang possess him. When Xiaowang possessed him, Qinxing's appearance changed drastically. He was wearing a robe formed by light, with 3 teams of wings of light floating behind him, and an unknown rune composed of light flashing on his forehead. The high ponytail tied on his head had also been loosened, and his long silver hair was flying freely without wind. At this time, Qinxing was very similar to the angels in myths and legends. He only needed a halo on his head, and Qinxing could say that he was an angel. Well, not that disgusting monster angel. In a state of possession, Qinxing could feel the huge magic power in his body, and the existence of this magic power could also increase Qinxing's physique. If Qinxing's physique was only at the limit of IV.3 just now, then it is now IV.6. Obviously, Xiaowang is an almighty elemental spirit, not only in magic but also in physique. In the case of possession, these abilities are brought to Qinxing. However, Qinxing at this time has no time to care about these. Please flowers looking at the dusty front. Qinxing fell in a thought at this time, wearing a mask and still has the strength comparable to IV.6. In my impression, there seems to be only one person dressed like this in Oreo. Firewise Xylia of the Dionysus family. The clone that guy split out is dressed like this, and because it is a clone, half of the ability is split out and the strength is high with V.6. This guy actually attacked me? Am I being targeted by Dionysus? Frowning, Qinxing thought for a moment and finally came to a conclusion. It's really infuriating. I didn't even try to ruin your plan, but you made trouble for me. Besides, the attack just now was aimed at my life. Dionysus, our feud is settled. I will settle the score with you later. But let me calculate the interest with you first. After muttering a few words in his heart, Qinxing's eyes gradually became indifferent. The next second, his eyes flashed with a faint light. The veins of light. The perception magic unfolded instantly. The next second, Qinxing's figure disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Fairway's clone. Fairway obviously didn't expect that Qinxing's speed would be so fast that even she couldn't react. When she reacted, a white ball of light had appeared in her abdomen. And Qinxing's face was close at hand, and he uttered an extremely cold word. The horn of destruction. Buzz. The violent light burst out from the middle of the 2 people, spreading silently to the surroundings, very gentle, as if it would not cause any damage to anyone or anything. But in the most central area, how terrifying was the light covering Fairway's body. It was so terrifying that it would instantly she killed him. Without any hesitation, Fire Wheezy recited the spell of release. The fantasy ends, the soul returns. Your body cannot be separated. As Fire Wheezy's voice fell, Fire Wheezy's body suddenly became illusory and disappeared completely under the cover of light. Watching this scene, Chinching did not react at all, as if he had expected half of it. Chinching had indeed expected the scene in front of him to happen. It was only a clone that attacked him. As long as the magic was lifted, the clone would naturally disappear. However, Chinching was not angry about this, because even if the clone's magic was lifted, its main body would definitely not feel good. With a thought, Chinching stopped the explosion of magic, and the spreading light gradually dissipated, revealing the scene under the light. A very terrifying scene, although it was not as scorching as 1,000 miles. With Chinching as the center, everything within 1,000 meters around disappeared completely, becoming a barren land, as if it had been completely obliterated by an invisible force. Chapter 61. Holding a grudge, blushing Aina, and Tsubaki's teasing, Thank you, Xiao Wang. After exiting the possession state, Chinching reached out and tapped Xiao Wang, who was sitting on his shoulder, and thanked him with a chuckle. Xiao Wang didn't say anything, but just rubbed his face against Chinching's with a bright smile on his face. Go back to Hestia. After teasing Xiao Wang a few more times, Chinching gently instructed. Xiao Wang nodded, and then turned into light and disappeared. When he appeared again, he had returned to Hestia's side. Xiao Wang can split a clone and use the clone to locate and reset. As long as there is a clone, Xiao Wang can teleport there in an instant. Just now, when Xiao Wang was summoned by Chinching, he split a clone in advance and stayed in Hestia's hair accessories as a resurrection point. Instantly returning to Hestia's side is done through the characteristics of the clone. Hestia didn't notice this at all and was reading a biography with relish at this time. In the dungeon, Morningstar had left the battlefield and came to another place that was not destroyed. Leaning against the roots of a big tree, Morningstar drank a potion that restored his physical strength and magic power, and quietly recovered himself. At this time, Morningstar was in a very embarrassing situation, not because of his injuries, but because of his clothes. The equipment given by Aina was now broken into pieces, and it was completely unrecognizable. When he was attacked just now, the power of Fire Wheezy not only injured Morningstar, but also broke all the equipment on his body. Looking at the broken equipment on his body, Morningstar frowned slightly. This was the equipment given to him by Aina, and Morningstar was still thinking about keeping it. After all, he didn't need to defend the next door, so he didn't need to replace it. Unexpectedly, it was damaged to this extent because of Fire Wheezy's sneak attack after just a short time. After quietly looking at the equipment on his body for a long time, Morningstar slowly retracted his gaze and looked up at the ceiling. Let Chun help repair it after we go back. After muttering to himself, Chinching stood up. After what happened, Chinching was in no mood to continue taking risks. He had to go back and vent his anger. Dionysus, wait for me. After putting away the tattered equipment and clothes, Chinching took a new set of clothes from the system space and put them on before starting his return journey. Chinching didn't want others to know that he was attacked, whether it was Hestia or Aegina, because Chinching didn't want them to worry. However, what you fear most will come true. When he returned to the ground, Chinching happened to meet Aegina, who was working under the Tower of Babel. Chinching, where is your equipment? Are you okay? Looking at Chinching, who was completely different from the morning, Aina frowned slightly. Her work today is at the Tower of Babel. When Chinching took Belle into the dungeon in the morning, she also met Chinching and chatted with Chinching for a while. Chinching was wearing equipment at that time. Why is the equipment gone now? Moreover, Chinching didn't wear this set of clothes before. However, the next moment, Aina seemed to understand something and became worried. Looking at Aina standing in front of her and looking at her with concern, Chinching was a little embarrassed. This was caught directly. Injured, was the equipment destroyed during the battle? Looking at the embarrassed and silent Chinching, Aina asked worriedly. Well, when I went to the 24th floor, I wanted to see how strong I would be after upgrading, so I went to find a more powerful monster to fight. I was a little injured, but it's not a big deal. Chinching nodded slightly and made up a reason to answer. Let me see how your injury is. Hearing that Chinching was injured, Aina's heart suddenly lifted up, and her hands quickly placed on Chinching's body, anxiously groping on Chinching's body. However, while touching, Aina suddenly came to her senses and found what she was doing. Her face turned slightly red, and she quickly retracted her hand. What on earth was I doing? I was touching Chinching's body in such a place. It's good that you're okay, Aina said to Chinching calmly. Yeah, it's okay. Chinching was also confused by Aina's behavior just now, but after seeing Aina's blushing cheeks, Chinching smiled slightly, did not mention it, and replied softly. It's good that the equipment is broken. The equipment I bought for you before can no longer keep up with your adventure, and it's time to replace it. Chinching, do you have any high-end equipment store you're interested in? Do you need me to recommend one to you? Seeing that Chinching didn't care about what happened just now, Aina breathed a sigh of relief, but she felt a little disappointed in her heart. But Aina quickly came back to her senses and began to change the subject. No, I don't need advanced equipment. The equipment you gave me, Aina, is only a little broken, not completely damaged. I will take it to repair it. Chinching shook his head and said gently, shaking the bag hanging on his waist, which looked strange at first glance. But, Chinching, that set of equipment was only bought for you to use in 4.1, but you are now in 4.2, and that set of equipment can no longer be of effective help. Hearing that Chinching was not going to change the equipment, Aina hurriedly persuaded. Well, after all, it is a gift from you. Aina, I will cherish it. Facing the anxious Aina, Chinching smiled and replied. When these words came out, Aina was stunned, and then she didn't know what she thought of, and her cheeks turned red. Seeing Aina blush twice a day, Chinching felt it was quite interesting and didn't say anything, but quietly admired it. Aegina also noticed Chinching's action and calmed down immediately. Her red cheeks quickly cooled down. She glared at Chinching fiercely, then turned and left without saying hello and continued to work. Chinching saw this and waved to Aegina without disturbing her and turned and left. After Chinching took a step, Aegina slowly turned around and looked at Chinching's gradually receding back. For some reason, she now cares more and more about Chinching. It's not the kind of care that an adventurer consultant takes responsibility for adventurers, nor is it the care between friends, but it seems to be a deeper kind. Thinking of this, Aegina's cheeks turned red again. In the past few minutes, Aegina has blushed 3 times, which can be compared with the number of blushes last month. However, the next moment, Aegina thought of Hestia, frowned slightly, and a somewhat incredible decision arose in her heart. What about Lady Hestia? On the other side, after leaving the Tower of Babel, Morningstar walked towards the base camp of the Hephaestus Familia. He greeted the guards and walked into the base camp of the Hephaestus Familia under the guards' admiring gaze. Along the way, Morningstar met many members of the Hephaestus Familia. Their attitudes were exactly the same as the guards before. They looked at him with admiring eyes, which made Morningstar a little puzzled, but Morningstar didn't care too much and continued to walk towards Chun's forge. In the forge, Chun took off her daily kimono, with a layer of bandage wrapped around her chest, holding a hammer in her hand, and was working hard and sweating as she hammered the materials on the forging table. Chun felt the arrival of Morningstar without even raising her head. She asked, "Why are you here today?" Every time Morningstar came here, it was when he needed to maintain his equipment. Yesterday, he came to find his own forging equipment. According to the maintenance date of Morningstar's equipment, it shouldn't need maintenance today. My defense equipment is broken, so I came to you to repair it. Morningstar said the purpose. Well, I know. Wait there for a while, and I'll tell you later. Chun nodded, and then continued to hammer the materials, no longer paying attention to Morningstar. Morningstar nodded in response, and then sat on a chair nearby, quietly watching Chun hammering the materials. To be honest, Chun's body proportions are really explosive, more explosive than Hestia. Even with bandages, you can still see its magnificence. Morningstar quietly watched Chun hammering and waited for a few minutes before Chun finished hammering and threw the materials back into the furnace. How about it? My body is good, right? After finishing the work, Chun came over, picked up the water cup on the table and drank it, then showed a teasing look and teased Morningstar. Well, great. Morningstar was not teased at all and smiled back. TSKU, you adapted so quickly, so boring. Chun curled her lips, disappointed. At the beginning, when she used her body to tease Chinching often blushed, but in just over a week, this guy was completely unbearable. Not only did he look at her now, but he was also able to respond calmly to her teasing. Take out the equipment and show it to me. Chun did not continue, but directly asked Chinching to take out the equipment that needed to be repaired. Chinching did not hesitate and directly put the defense equipment with more than 4.9 damage on the forging table and opened it. Hey, yeah, I was wondering why you didn't wear it. It turned out to be damaged. But the damage is really serious. I think it's better to change it directly. Change to a stronger set. It's not worth repairing. Chun suggested sincerely. No, I won't change it. This is a gift from my adventurer consultant. It has special meaning, even if I don't wear it. I hope to repair it and strengthen it if possible. Chinching shook his head and said, I see, leave it to me. I will repair this set of equipment and make it fishy. However, I will give you a heads up in advance. The basic materials of this set of equipment are not very good. At most, I will add some higher level materials. Strengthening it to the second level is already the limit. It can't be strengthened further. Do you want to continue like this? Chun nodded and then said seriously, well, strengthen it. It doesn't matter how much reward you need. Chinching replied seriously. Haha, it seems that it really has a very special meaning. Seeing Chinching's answer without hesitation, Chun raised his eyebrows and said meaningfully, well, I just said it. Facing this meaningful smile, Chinching smiled and replied. Chapter 62, Dionysus's Plan, a different encounter. While Morningstar came back from the dungeon to find Chun to repair his equipment, new events happened in the other three places. In the Silver Mansion, Freya looked at the consulting report of Morningstar that the family members had just brought back from the guild, and a faint light flashed in her violet pupils. I didn't find out your information before, and I thought you were an adventurer from the outside world, but I didn't expect. Morningstar has lived in Oreo since he was a child, and he is unknown because of his lonely personality. Half a month ago, he was accidentally registered under the name of Lucifer and became an adventurer. It only took half a month to grow from a new adventurer to the limit and upgrade to 4.2. Looking at the information in her hand, Freya murmured in a low voice. All along, she didn't find out about Morningstar's situation, thinking that Morningstar was from the outside world, and she didn't even find out who Morningstar's family was. Otherwise, she wouldn't be unaware of Morningstar's level, so she would charm monsters and start monster riots during the Monster Festival, hoping to test Morningstar's strength. Although there were some problems with the monster riots at the Monster Festival, the purpose was achieved in the end. She also tested the approximate strength of Morningstar. She didn't know much about the power level of magic, but she could guess that Morningstar's strength was between V.B and V.4. With Morningstar's strength, she thought that Morningstar was at least IV.3, but she didn't expect that he was a newcomer. And it was precisely because he was a newcomer that Freya became more interested in Morningstar. Although she couldn't see through the soul light of Morningstar, based on Morningstar's performance alone, Freya could be sure that the soul light of Morningstar was absolutely dazzling. More dazzling than any human god in Oreo. She now wanted to take Morningstar into her arms and love him well. However, thinking of Morningstar's special situation, thinking that the main god of Morningstar introduced in the consultation given by the guild was a sly guy, and no one had seen that guy until now, Freya calmed down. What she wanted was for Morningstar to belong to her completely. There was Lucifer in between, which was not what she wanted. However, it doesn't matter. The gods' conference will be held in a few days, and Morningstar is upgraded now, so Lucifer will definitely go to the gods' conference. Then I'll snatch Morningstar from him. Murmuring in a low voice, Freya folded up the consulting information with the portrait of Morningstar at her hand, and then stuffed it into her chest, closed her eyes, silently felt something, and a charming smile gradually appeared at the corner of her mouth. Morningstar, my ode. At the same time, on the other side, in the residence of the Dionysus family, Fellweiss, who was watering the flowers, suddenly trembled all over and then a trickle of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Fellweiss's scarlet pupils flashed with shock. What happened? In the pavilion not far away, Dionysus was holding Morningstar's consulting information in his hand, but he noticed the situation here and asked, "Lord Dionysus?" Fellweiss put down the kettle in her hand, walked towards Dionysus, and bowed slightly. "Yes." Dionysus nodded again, then picked up the black tea on the stone table, waiting for Fellweiss's report. "Lord Dionysus, the operation failed," Fellweiss said. Hearing this, Dionysus paused slightly, turned his head and looked over. His expression was calm, but his
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.